What's going on, gang, and welcome back to Scared of Normal. I'm Mike Murfitt, and today's guest is a man of many talents. We're stoked to welcome Richard Krumm, aka Veesh, to the show. Almost a year ago today, you were here at the headquarters here at Traction, and we were having such a beautiful conversation. And ever since that moment, I was so excited for this exact opportunity. So thanks for hitting me up. Thanks for coming and doing this, man.
Well, thanks. I'm not in Colorado too often, so just being here, trying to find some time to do this was I'm just glad it worked out too. Yeah, definitely. So.
Definitely a treat. What are you in Colorado for? I guess we can start there. That's probably a good spot.
Well, at the moment, at the end of this week, there's a Fast and Loose premiere, and Colt threw together a trip to lead into that. So I'm filming Corey Walsh, Trey Jones, Lil Jon, and Preston Oakert, and we're just cruising around parks and a couple of different random street spots, and just working on like a little trip video to lead us into the Fast and Loose premiere. So
heck yeah, man, that's
pretty much it.
Rad. How's the weather been treating you guys so far?
Good. There's the stormy afternoons that we haven't really like got too caught up in much rain, except for this afternoon, which kind of led to some time to do this. But the weather's been good. It's not too hot, not too cold. We went like up super far in elevation. I don't even know where we were today, and that was pretty freezing.
Yeah.
But then we came right back down, and the weather's good. So
heck yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a very weird spring here in Colorado. Like we usually don't have this much moisture falling. So yeah, you guys are getting treated with it with the cooler temps. It's usually like 90 degrees by now. So
well, I'm liking it. So it's all good.
Heck yeah, man. Well, yeah. So for anybody unfamiliar with who you are and what you do, if you stumbled upon a stranger in the street and they asked you who you were, how would you describe yourself to them? It's a loaded question.
Wow. I would just say hi and probably move on. No. Like what I realized recently, because I've been trying to kind of figure out what I am about, because I have like lots of different things I like to do. A lot of it is based in video and media in that format, filming and editing. But I'm pretty involved in like recording and making music, and then also just like different kinds of art, and then what I kind of call like experiences. So if I had to like host a party, I would figure out ways to make it fun for the people that are coming and kind of just create a cool atmosphere. So that is, I kind of realized goes through the videos I make. I want it to take the viewer into a certain kind of like feeling or like journey in a way, or same thing with music. It's supposed to like somewhat stimulate or be like, oh, this sounds cool. Like, I don't know. So like I didn't realize what people call like multimedia workflow. I came from video stuff, even though I played music and recorded music before that. But like I just like was like, yeah, I do video. And now that I'm like trying to work on some of my own stuff, I'm realizing that I could kind of do a few different things. So I need to like figure out how to like kind of put all those pieces together. And then I've kind of realized that lately I call it like 360 production of something that I can like,
I like that.
Make a video, direct it, find the location, shoot something, do like product shots where I, shoot product in like a studio environment, or like incorporate that into some like stuff that's maybe shot outdoors, maybe make the music for it, make the graphics for it, and make it so that like if I had a client that, especially something for like social media or YouTube kind of stuff, like they can just get everything done through me. And if I put that package together, I kind of like get to direct every piece of it so that it lands the way that I want it to, or I think is right for like a client's needs or something. But yeah, like that's kind of like the gist of what I've kind of been doing lately. I don't know. I know your question was how would I explain myself, but I guess that's just a bit of, I don't know, stuff I've just been doing lately, I guess.
I love it. Yeah. And you're also in like, you've been in a transitory period, kind of working through going into this new project of yours and creating this, what you're calling like a 360 production. And I love that name for that. It's such a cool, synopsis of what you're able to do, because you can create the video production, you can create the music, you can direct it all. Like that's a very rare skill set from what I've seen out there in the world. And seeing like the vibe that you've commanded over the years with BMX videos, taking that into different industries, it's going to be really cool. So I'm excited to like kind of dig into a little bit more of that in this episode, man. It's going to be cool.
Well, yeah, I hope to like share a bit of like what I'm up to and like kind of like where I hope to go, I guess. So
Heck yeah. Well, let's start by throwing it all the way back to the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in La Habra, California, and I spent a lot of time though in Fullerton, which is where I live now, and that's just like the next city over. I actually have like this crazy uh like I don't know, appreciation for the city of Fullerton, which is kind of I hope to like live there forever in a way. I've being able to like film BMX videos and like travel and see places like coming here to Colorado and going to New York and like I don't know a bunch of other countries and places like that. You get to experience lots of different things. And so I like that. I hope to keep like that aspect going, but then I'll just like kind of root myself in the Fullerton area. One of the things I like about Fullerton is there's a really cool like downtown area that has like bars and music and art, and it's like I don't want to say it's anything like Austin, but like it's like a microscopic, literally it's just a street of this kind of area, but like it has a feeling. And I think when I was a kid and you were driving and it was kind of like regular neighborhoods and you'd get to this one street in this one zone and it looked way different, and like the trees that hang over, all the buildings are like older looking, and like it just was like cool. And that kind of caught me as a kid. And I was like, you know, in the car with my mom. I don't know where I'm going, but like I just remember like, oh, this area is cool. And then like later up growing up and like being able to live there, and I don't know, it was really cool. And then I worked at the bike shop, Fullerton Bikes. I worked there for like 8 years on and off. And since I went and like started doing a bunch of freelance stuff, I actually went back over there and I was like, hey, if you guys like want to do anything, like let me know. And I like literally just started doing a few projects here and there with them again, which is really awesome because like Fullerton Bikes is what got me into videos, because they saw some stuff I was doing, and the owner Mike, he like invested in gear to get me going to do the videos. Whoa. Which is the same gear I started using when like Stay Fit was being filmed, and I was like helping shoot like behind the scenes stuff of that video when Robbie was still at Fit. And I would like leave the bike shop mid like working, like I'd get a call, hey, are you around? We want to try and go get a clip. And I'd be like, hey, Mike, can I go do this? And he'd be like, yeah, go for it. And then the other employees there would cover for me too. They knew what like Whoa. I was trying to do. So like going way back into like early video stuff and like kind of where I'm from and why I'm bringing up Fullerton, it's just like that's just been like the area that I like really like. And like so what I'm hoping to do with YouTube stuff that I'm doing is like do some Fullerton appreciation stuff, because one of the other aspects that makes that bike shop so cool is that they have, you know, when I was there, Mike let me do whatever I wanted with BMX, and I helped like bring in a decent like BMX scene being there. But once I left and there wasn't somebody like holding it down, it's not as strong as it once was, right?
For sure.
But like, one of the things that makes the shop really cool is that like Fullerton has this thing called the Fullerton Loop, which is like literally a trail through the city. And it's like the city's here and there's like a hillside that kind of separates La Habra from Fullerton.
Okay.
And there's like a bunch of undeveloped land that they're either keeping for like environmental sake or other things, but like the horses are on it, mountain bikes are on it, people hike on it. But like if you were to like take a drone up, you would see that there's like land, or like you Google Earth it or something, you'll see that there's like houses, and then there's just like trails that run through and around.
That's
and
incredible.
Like, so it has like this really cool like outdoor scene in the middle of a city. And if you like scale up even farther, there's not any city around that has that same kind of thing. And to me, that's what's like really cool. And like, as far as like, there's this place called like Lions Field, which is just like they redid like all this baseball field and football field, and they added in these stairs that just go up this hill, and people go there and go up and down the stairs just for like workouts. And so that was like to me, a really cool thing that they added kind of recently, that like, it's just as encouraging, like, being outside, being healthy. Like, people are just going there to get exercise instead of like going to the gym or riding the mountain bikes. And I've been going there a little bit, but yeah, what I'm getting to is like, I have this like idea to make this Fullerton appreciation video, or actually a series of things that I just really like about Fullerton. So I'm hoping that when I get home, I start diving into that. I've already went around and I bought a drone like 2 years ago and never flew it because I have this problem where if I get into something, it takes over.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I flew the drone, that I would be like, oh, I really just want to fly the drone and like not do anything else. And then as soon as I started flying it, I stopped editing. One day I was like editing something. I was like,
I should go fly the drone.
That's exactly what happened. I went, I'm going to fly the drone. And then I started taking my mountain bike out and like riding through the loop, looking for spots to fly the drone. So I'm like, this is like street riding was, where if you find a spot, then you bring people to it and then you film on the spot. Well, now I'm like finding the spot to use the drone at. Like there's like a part where these trees split and I was like, but the trail goes like this and it kicks back and I could go straight through and the rider would be going like this and I would just fly the drone through the
sick.
trees. And, like I'm like looking for shots besides just like a high up shot. I'm like kind of dangerously flying, and it's just a Mavic Mini. Like I'm kind of flying it like an FPV it's really dangerous. I've like almost crashed it a bunch of times. But I find it like so fun to do. And like, so yeah. And, I didn't do much of that stuff in the BMX filming stuff. I kept it, what I would say is very traditional. I didn't use a gimbal. I didn't use, I didn't use a drone. It was really just a skateboard and long lens. And I would try and get as many moving shots as I could and like make shots look interesting. But now I'm like realizing I should be using those tools if I want to like try and film stuff that's like more mountain bike or like adventure or like, even if it's car stuff, because like adding those motions to it just really enhances the shots. It kind of like brings you in like a lot more, where in BMX, sometimes it takes away from like what the rider's doing.
Sure.
But in these situations, it's enhancing the situation. So now I'm like going to kind of move over into like an area that I like kind of like held off from, kind of more as a purist. And I wouldn't even say it's anything wrong for anyone else doing what they do. Like Daryl Tago is like a master with the gimbal setup. Rich Foreign shoots like this super cinematographer. He's super basic, like his setup super simple. Like I don't want to call it basic because what he does is beyond basic, but like he doesn't have fancy stuff. Like, but he shoots super cinematic and he does like his own thing. So now I'm like kind of trying to develop my own more cinematic style from the like BMX traditional.
Yeah, that
shooting.
more raw style. I like you talking about like being more dynamic for things that don't have like all this action going on. Like if it is that trail shot where it's somebody just cruising, it's like creating some like dynamic shot for that, making it just pop like it does in real life. So that's sick, man.
And that I've found already, you just using the drone, that those are like the things that stand out the most. And I would say that like, I guess it's kind of common that you would see that in like the mountain or road kind of world, those kinds of things. But like, I do feel like I'm trying to find something I can bring to it that takes the BMX style and merges it with like, filming, the road and mountain stuff. And, the other day I actually shot with a road bike, guy for Fullerton bikes, and I used the skateboard to do the shots. Like, and I think he thought like, what is going on? But I think the end result looked fine. But like, it was just this weird merging of like a road bike with the filmer with a skateboard. Like, I don't know. The
clashing of two different worlds, man. That's cool though.
But even then, when I got done, I was like, man, if I just had the gimbal, this would have actually been a lot better. But at the same time, I just used what I had and I made it work. He was riding up a hill, like,
crushing,
getting into it, like trying to go. And I skated down and around him and like zoomed around his tire. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we passed like this and then I just made a harsh turn around him. Like, so like, around. I don't know what he's thinking while I'm like skating down the hill while he's riding up a hill and stuff. But like, yeah, it worked out. Like I just make the most of what I can, I guess. But
I love it, man.
But yeah, I'm trying to move into some different cinematic kind of things, but
Heck yeah.
take some BMX. Like it's almost like it's like you don't have a lot with BMX, so you make the most with it. So
Mhm.
if I can keep doing that, even when I have like better tools, then I feel like you can make an even better product.
Yeah,
Like
it compounds almost,
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
becomes almost that much more crazy, which I
The,
love that concept.
the like one of the things that happened where I didn't have a gimbal and where the music stuff plays in is this other rider was like riding up this, like there were like a bunch of tree roots and they kind of make like steps, but like you can just ride over them because they're like kind of thick. But it was like I was like, dude, if you really like were getting at that, like that would look pretty cool if I could just like run behind you. And like I ran behind him, and it was like it kind of made it look a little more rough. But if it was like with the gimbal, it probably would have looked even better. And then like with him, I was just like, we looked at the clip and I was like, well, since I'll be making the song for this, I'll just make the part of the song really like rugged to go with the shot. And so that's another area where it's like I almost made it look intentional, but that's like what I'm going to do afterwards to fix it, because like it'll blend together.
Yeah, you're
So,
working with what you got,
and then that's part of that 360 media kind of thing that I'm or like 360 production, I should say, where it is, I'm like, all right, well, it's all going to seem intentional because I'm going to like put the right mood behind the shot, and then I don't know, but to be able to like put that in the right place of the video to make all that make sense. But,
yeah. Whereas like if somebody else shot that clip and it was kind of rugged and then they pass it off to somebody to cut it, the guy cutting it would be like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, or again, it would just you get the cleared song or whatever it is you're using, and that's what you have to work with. Where I can make like a bunch of peaks and valleys where I need them to be to make this thing go. And this particular video is actually pretty cool. It's like a day in the life. So he gets it's the owner's son. His name's Brent of Fullerton bikes, and what he does is he's pretty much like getting flowed from Giant, I would say.
Okay.
And so they gave him this new bike, and this is where this video kind of came from. Was like, sorry. The video kind of came from this idea of like, all right, well, let's just like shoot like a day in the life. But then I like take it to the next level, and I'm like, well, let's like try and make something that almost feels like it's more like directed, and then just like an average thing. So like, especially because he has like a kind of like a gravel bike, where he's it's almost like a road bike. He's riding it on the trail, but then he could ride it on the street. So like he lives right by the Fullerton Loop, so from his house, he could just get on the loop and ride it most of the way to the bike shop. So then we have this like voiceover thing where he's like, oh, and he's like, maybe I take the loop or maybe I like take a different way. And then it like cuts to him like going down these stairs and then going through these alleyways and then using that part of Fullerton that I was talking about where it's like super like cool looking, like artistic, like coffee shop, like all this like cool like hipstery kind of area. And now he's like riding through, like, they put the tables on the street and there's like plants and stuff. And he's like riding through and he cuts down an alleyway. And then I flew the drone down that alleyway. And then we cut over and there's like this random skate park that like isn't really on the path to the bike shop, but like it's painted all crazy. And like there's a couple like little wooden ramps. It's literally not a skate park. It's like they put some wooden ramps down and bolted them in the ground. and it's just like a narrow like alleyway thing almost. But I was like, could you jump this thing? And he has a BMX background. So he's like, he used to race and stuff. So he's like pretty good at riding like that. So like he jumps the little wedge to wedge. And then like I fly the drone over all the colors and just like, I'm going to put all that stuff together really fast and like make him get to the shop. And then he works at the shop. And then like, there's like a bit of him like putting the bike together from beforehand. And I was like, he's like, isn't it weird that like, I'm putting the bike together in the video? I was like, no, you just have to talk about it. Because how could you ride the bike in and build a bike in the same thing? You have to talk about it in the past tense.
Yeah.
And then we have to like work this like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to talk about the bike a tiny bit so that like it's there for Giant, but like we can't over hype the bike. But like, yeah, you're like, yeah, I'm cool. And it's cool that they gave me this bike, whatever. And it's a past tense thing because you can't be riding the bike in and building the bike. So like we have to like, I don't know, figure those pieces out. And then when he's done working, he goes and actually like trains or like rides harder. And so he switches into like his kit that he would wear. And then we actually go back to the loop and we film like the real aggressive stuff.
That's cool.
And that was fun to film because like I'd filmed with him before, but he really like turned it on. Like I'd be like, all right, yeah, just ride past. And he's all, boom, right past me. I'm like, whoa, okay, well, you gotta do that again. I didn't realize that you were that fast. All right. So that was like cool. And there's a couple things he can jump there, and like he climbs hills fast. And so like just filming all that kind of stuff was really cool. And so that's like been my like little taste into like getting into that world and kind of like figuring these things out. And I just hope to like keep working with the bike shop and getting things like that done to where I'm like learning more techniques, and maybe that opens some doors for me to get into some other brands and stuff. But like when I watch some of the stuff that the other brands put out, I see it and go, oh, cool. Like I get excited about it on the way that like, oh, if I could shoot that, that would be awesome. And again, it takes that like BMX background of like, okay, so instead of like a spot, we just need a location, and that has to provide a certain intriguingness between how it looks, how the rider can ride on it, how accessible it's going to be, like all those kinds of things. So I don't know. That's just a bit of like what I've been up to. I know I was like on about Fullerton appreciation, but like
I'm excited to check that. I mean, it's cool to me, like just how stoked you are on the place that you grew up, right? And like then it's all come full circle back to you working with the bike shop. Was that your first job?
I mean, it's like my first like real job. Before that, do you guys have Red Robin out here?
Oh, we do, yeah.
Okay, well, Red Robin had a mascot, like somebody who walked around in a robin costume. And the first time I ate there, I saw that, and then I was, I think, 16. I was like, I want to be the Robin.
No way.
And so I went to the front desk and I said, can I be the Robin? Like, how do you get the job? And they said, well, we have somebody doing it already. And they like told me like I could be like a hostess or whatever. It's funny because I think even in the first time I went to get a job, I never thought about money, because I think they started saying like, you can make more money like this. I was like, no, I want to be the Robin.
Yeah,
like,
that looks way more fun.
I have no idea why. And then now I'm thinking about it. It's going back to like when I guess I've liked weird, again, entertainment kind of things. I didn't even realize that.
How old were you when that happened?
I had to have been 16.
Okay.
Because I could drive to work, and I was probably 17 by the time I worked at the bike shop. So, but yeah, I believe I went from being the Robin to working at the bike shop.
That's
like,
sick.
I don't think I had any jobs in between.
How long were you the Robin for?
Not that long. Like less than 6 months probably. But
you need to bring that costume back out for Halloween or something.
I don't have the costume.
I'm gonna get you one this year for Halloween.
I don't know if I'd wear it. I don't know. I might have moved
PTSD.
past it. I might have moved past it. But the thing that's kind of funny is I asked him, and I gave him my phone number or something, because they called me and said they added more nights for me to be the Robin, that the person who was the Robin was moving on to doing like other jobs at the restaurant instead of being the Robin. And I now don't even understand why someone else was the Robin to begin with. Because like, was there just another person like me who just wanted to be
just that
Robin?
Stoked.
Like, I don't know. That's really do not have any idea. I do have a picture I could send you, and you can just like.
I would love that.
I don't know.
You have it somewhere.
I have it somewhere. It's at my parents' house, so I'd have to go get it. It's in a collage of other pictures that my dad made. It's on the wall, so I could find it easily. But
do you want people to see it?
Oh, I wouldn't care. They wouldn't even see me really. They see a Robin. One of the funny parts about that job is that you get really hot in that costume, so they would just have you take a break in the walk-in freezer. And so people who work at the restaurant go in there to get stuff. So you, as a bird, are sitting in the freezer, and they just pull the door open. Oh, wait.
So
grab.
Can you bring me some French fries?
So that was the first job, and then we moved past that pretty quickly.
That's amazing. Well, talking about that era of life, like when did BMX come into your life?
Well, BMX had already been happening. I was probably like 14. MTV did the Sports and Music Festival. That's what got me to get a bike. And that's what's crazy is like, that was like such a cool concept for like a contest, that like that was like my gateway into it. And they only did 2 of those, I believe. And I don't really remember watching the second one. It was a little different. It didn't quite have the same style as the first one. But what it did do is it literally introduced me to people that like you and me grew up watching and or still know to this day. Somebody like Troy McMurray,
Yeah.
Robbie Morales.
Troy actually talked about that on his podcast that we did with him,
Really?
which was super cool. Yeah. So it's cool hearing you say that that's like something that
he won the street contest.
Yeah. Is that, I think that's the one he was in jail. I think he
Yes,
talked about
he was
that. He
in
was in jail and he rode in his like prison or his jail outfit.
They talked about it in the thing. And the reason I know this is because back then we had VHS tapes that you could record shows off of before the DVR was around. And I recorded that and then I watched it constantly. And it took me forever. They had snowboarding, they had skateboarding. It took me forever to watch all those other pieces. I would just fast forward to the next BMX thing. And they were riding dirt jumps with cars buried underneath them and like washing machines and stuff that like
just so
was
raw
taken
and rugged
from what was going on. Because when I started going to the trails after that, that's what was there. Stuff was buried in the dirt so that you weren't like piling up as much dirt.
Yep.
And I had to like learn that from people at the trails. And I also learned that people at the trails aren't very nice. Like I didn't show up and anybody like liked that I was there. It took a long time before anybody like came around. And even I think most of the trails got plowed before anybody like came around to that. But like then Van Skate Park was kind of where I met everybody who rode and is still like in the BMX community now. Not the outdoor park that everybody's familiar with, the indoor one that they don't have anymore. But back to the roots of it. Yeah, pretty much I saw like Sports and Music Festival, and then shortly after that I saw like an X Games with the same people in it. You know, like I remember Nyquist was riding dirt and then he was at X Games and he just started doing the flip bar spin. Like that was like what they talked about a bunch. And stuff like Fox Expendable Youth, like I bought that at the bike shop. Like there weren't a lot of videos. And for some reason I bought that one, just watched that one over and over again. GT Dead Sailor, somebody gave me.
A classic.
Yeah. So like I had those kinds of things. But like, yeah, my introduction to BMX was Sports and Music Festival and then into the X Games. But one of the things I was just talking to somebody about it, it was like, it is kind of important to have something that you would consider like a gateway into it. Like, you know, X Games seem to be pretty accessible. You know, it's on TV, you see what's going on, but you know, stuff like magazines, and then local scenes is where it goes deeper into like the rider owned industries and like that kind of stuff. And back then it was way different, because the rider owned stuff was way harder to find because you had to go into the magazine and that kind of stuff. Otherwise it's going to be just like, the bigger known brands, and I'm not like trying to diss anybody by talking about like Haros or GTs or anybody, but like they had the marketing budget. They were in the bike shops with the mountain bikes, and it, you know, but like nowadays, like the rider owned companies have like gotten to the same level in a way of like their reputation and being around and getting complete bikes into bike shops, those kinds of things. Like it's not hard to find that like it was back then. So you had to like get exposed to it after you got in from like what you'd see as more like the contest riders and that kind of stuff. And then you find out about like different scenes. And there was a bike shop, it's called like Family Bike and Board or something, that was like near me, that actually like I never even realized how early I got into filming. But I filmed that and I had to been like 14 or something. And people like Brian Castillo, Rooftop, maybe even Troy McMurray, people like that were at this.
No way.
There's like a famous, like, I think it was like, man, I don't know all the names of the stuff, but there was like a red spine that's like in old S&M videos and like other things. Like it was at somebody's house. That spine ramp was at this event. Like they brought it and they kept it there. I don't know. I'm getting kind of lost in like some really foggy memories of like, but like
digging in the archives.
If I could find this old camera, it has tapes with people like Castillo and like
that's crazy
in Rooftop and stuff, like riding these ramps, and I was just a spectator like a kid would be with his phone now, you know, like, but I just brought my dad's camera down and filmed it, and then I would like edit the stuff up on the VHS, like VHS to VHS, and then I would like play the song. Like I talked to Jeff Z about this, and he said that he used to do the same thing, but you could put audio from like your boombox with like an RCA cable into the VCR. And I didn't even think of that. And I was just playing the music and then recording the camera, recording the screen of the TV
Wow.
Like once I edited all the footage, like the clips I wanted, and I literally had clips from like X Games and Sports and Music Festival and my own footage.
Like
I just put it
mixed
all
in.
I just made a nice little highlight reel. And so I put all that stuff together, and then I had to play the song I want to play, and then I would like it would just pick it back up into the camera, and then I put that camera back onto a VHS.
Oh
And that was
my
my early
gosh.
days. But that's where it stopped. I did that, and then I went, cool, and now I'm going to go ride. And there was no, I want to make BMX videos. That didn't exist in my like thinking early on.
That's crazy. So I'm obviously music is a huge piece of your life too. Were you playing music before you got on the bike? Or
Yeah, I
was
was
that
playing-
like all kind of at the same time?
No, I mean, it is similar. But the music stuff came before that because I started playing music. So we, until I was 10 and we lived in La Mirada, that was like the first house, which is again, the next city. It's like this 3-city cluster. But yeah, I have memories of being there, playing bass and playing drums, but like literally very just the intro of like doing that stuff. And because my dad had like a band room, and he's still super involved with music. He plays in like multiple different bands, but one of the big ones that he plays in is like a Beatles cover band that has like a steady gig and like is actually like doing pretty well.
Wow.
One of their things is that you can just request any song, and like so they like get an audience in participation in it. Like the band's called Let It Be, and it's just like you know, they'll play something and then people will start putting in requests, and they'll go, okay, Mary said she wants this song or whatever. And then they play that song, and like they can just like hit pretty much any song they want because they just play Beatles, which is a vast amount of songs.
That's crazy.
But at the same time, like they're really good at playing. And I've done drumming and stuff for them before, like because we used to rotate musicians out. Like it used to be like if you wanted to play guitar, you bring your guitar and like wait and then put your song in and come up and play your song. So like they used to be more like that, but the musician part started dying off, and they realized that the thing people wanted to do was come up and sing or just take the request. So I believe that they still have people come up and sing the songs too. But I don't know. Anyways, that's
super
why
cool,
my dad was super into music. So that's why he like got me into playing drums to begin with. And then I played guitar after that. And then I kind of just like played the bass from there. And then I played very rudimentary piano stuff. But like when it comes to like synthesizers, things like that, that's just kind of like extra stuff that I layer on top. That's not like, I don't need to play like a lot of chords. You can kind of just play like a few notes, you know, and like kind of get by. But if someone was like, could you play a song on the piano? I'd probably be like, no. But on the guitar, like I could probably like figure out a song that
I watched
playing.
you guys do it one day in my living room when last
yeah,
Fast and Loose trip.
yeah.
That was I probably still have the video somewhere. You guys are playing like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Well,
I
yeah.
like walked in. I was like, this is crazy.
Well, I mean, the lyrics of the songs are so deep and inspiring that we had to just learn how to play.
How could you not?
Yeah.
So you go from cutting videos on the VHS player, being a Robin, you know, working at Red Robin, to the bike shop.
Well, the VHS one was before being the Robin.
That
was like 14, and 14, 15. Then I stopped doing video stuff, and then I started working at a bike shop. And I would say to anybody who's into BMX or bikes in general, and you're in high school or just out of high school, try and work at a bike shop. One of the things that you get like what we'll call like 360 experience. First off, you're around something you really like, right? You can learn mechanical things. You learn about how business works. You're interacting with people, and like it is like kind of a service industry, especially when like people need like stuff fixed, and then you have to like, oh, I'm sorry, like this part isn't in, like, you know, like learn doing special orders, all those kinds of things.
Deadlines and stuff.
Yeah, like it's and then not only that, but like if you were just some kid and you like had an interest in things outside of the bike shop, it'd be kind of probably harder to get in the door at a brand. But because you're already like affiliated and you've talked to sales reps and those people know you, and then someone goes, oh, you know, there's a job here, like doing something else, like design work or something. I go, oh, well, now you have a reputation with this like sales rep, so they can put in a good word. Like there's ways for you to get into the industry. And that kind of stuff helps. But again, it's just a really good experience all around because I never thought about how business works. That was where I first heard about like how, markups and like, like Keystone and like these, like why you'd like some things you might buy and you're not going to make that much money on. These other things are kind of like your bread and butter, even though it's like, yeah, but those are tubes. Like, who cares about that? But it's like, yeah, we need to sell a lot of tubes because we're not selling as many bikes. Like, that's just an example, and it's not even that good of an example. But there's so much to learn.
I love that you touch on that too, though, because most bike shops are family owned. They're small businesses, and so you do get to learn a lot about how a business operates.
Yeah,
and that's something you can go to school and learn that, but like you're getting hands-on experience when you're working for a small business, and then the access to the manufacturers and the access to the industry, that's insanely valuable. I've never really considered how valuable that is to somebody wanting to make a name in the industry, whether it be a rider, wanting to be a professional, or somebody wanting to work for a company. That's huge. So
yeah, no, that's what I realized from like just my time there, and especially because I would do a different job. Like I would come back to the bike shops to the point where when I said I was going to leave to do video full time, and I was like, this is my, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. It was kind of a like, we'll see, like, we'll see what, but it was for like 15 years. I mean, I don't work there now, but I work with them now, so, but going there is pretty cool. Cause when I first started coming back to the shop, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I haven't been here for a long time, so I don't really know. And then now that I'm going there a lot, I'm like, whoa, this place is sick. Like people literally come and hang out there after work and they just like talk about whatever. And they like either talk about bikes or like they have all these inside jokes and like, and it's like, wow, this is like almost what a BMX scene would be, just like it's just a little bit different world. And like, I don't know, it's making me see how cool like bike shops are just in general, regardless of it being a BMX shop or not. Like, I mean, they're not probably all like that, but this particular one is. And I know that like, that's what people like about like all these other shops. They have like a race series called Over the Hump that like all these different like bike shops come to, and they all have their little squads of people.
Cool.
And but it's like, I don't know, it's really cool to like see that. It feels like they're having a jam almost every week, and
well, there's a lot of soul involved in that kind of stuff. And the way you've described it, they seem like such a big community hub. So it's like, go to your local bike shop and like seek that out because it exists where you live, most likely. And be a part of that because as you're describing it, it's amazing, right?
Well, this scene seems like it's like that probably times 20, like, or more, because like, yeah, the outdoor world, the cycling world, it has to be like so huge and much more normal. Where like, what I like about Fullerton is it has like a sliver of like Colorado running through it.
That's
like,
so
what
cool.
I'm saying? Like here it's like so much stuff
Dude,
that we've seen. It's just like, that's what people do a lot. And it's like really cool.
We have a bike shop exactly like what you're describing, just like up the road in Lyons from here. And like, same thing, dude. There's like every Tuesday night, they do these group rides at night. And it's like, it's so much fun, dude. It is so community driven. And yeah, those moments are special. So being able to like pour into those shops and be a part of those things and go to the cookouts and go to the rides, like, yeah, that doesn't happen, as much as it should in this world anymore. So
I don't really know like where this conversation has gone as far as like, it seems like it's just gone into like how cool cycling is in general. But I guess that's kind of where my heart's like leading me, especially getting older. Like I'm close to being like 40 years old and my body's already like kind of not liking some of the abuse that I used to put it through between how I ate and just riding and all that kind of stuff. Like, I got a knee problem that I really need to work on, but like mountain and road cycling kind of helps that. And then at the same time, like I can't go to the gym very well, but I can push myself on a bike to get up the hill, which is a good workout that I wouldn't do at the gym. So it's like, all right, I think that like my interest is going to shift to a different place because it's really hard to ride BMX right now the way I want to, but probably by adding in mountain or even road cycling, that could make the BMX stuff have some longevity to it, even if I have to simplify what I do a bit. But, even a little bit, we rode the other day at a park and I I have this problem where I get nervous that if I like put my foot down wrong, it can make my knee swell up, which makes it really hard to walk, which kind of keeps me off my bike, especially when I'm filming a trip and I
Yeah.
need to be like agile and like,
Being able to run after people.
yeah, just like not be a problem. Like, I have to like be ready for whatever. But I rode a little bit and it was so fun. I mean, there was like, I don't even know what park it was, but there's like hips and like little spine thing. And like, I'm going to say what park it is. You're going to tell me after I tell you the feature that it has. It's like a tiny grippy skate park with a spine. And over in this one corner, there's like 2 quarter pipes and a curve wall thing. And it's near Denver.
Oh, Denver DTC Park.
Maybe.
Like Denver Tech Center Park. Yeah.
Maybe it's
and there's
that.
like a big bowl on the other
yeah,
side.
it's a big
like,
bowl with like
and it's all kind of lumpy,
spine.
crazy. Yeah.
So
that place is cool.
We're at that park and I was riding that and it was really fun. It reminded me of the Fullerton skate park, which is my favorite skate park in my favorite city. So that's another reason I love that place. But what am I trying to say? I was riding that park and it felt good. And I was just like, man, I need to like fix this knee thing because like I miss just the act of like riding and like even just doing a 180 and like
just having fun.
It was just like I was like, dang. Like,
well, I like that you're kind of like pivoting into more of like that cycling based like routine because it really does, for most people that I've met that have ridden a lot of stuff outside of BMX and they come back, like the fitness goes up, like you're taking the impact off the knees. Like it's really cool like what that does for the longevity of like riding a BMX bike. So I want to jump back to talking about like the bike shop. Where do you go after the bike shop? Did you go to school? Or were you kind of just like taking BMX jobs here and there?
So pretty much Fullerton Skate Park, like in California, there was this like weird ticketing thing. Like they built all these skate parks and they didn't allow bikes. And pretty much everyone you went to, it was like you're on edge because if a cop rolls up, which they like to do at that time, you got to scatter and most likely somebody's going to get a ticket. And I feel like I got 1 ticket ever. And I went to court and they're like, the judge was confused by it. He's like, he's like, I'll make this the minimum sentence. He looks at a book and goes, all right, $25. But like they were trying to get you at $100 or $150. And as a kid who's like not really working, that was like so much money to me. So like I just, being able to only pay $25 was cool. But like I said, I only got 1. But Fullerton was like the least busty skate park. And so a lot of like pros who would come to town would end up going to that skate park to warm up in the morning. Like they would ride and then they'd go film. And at the time, I didn't even realize that's what they were doing. But people like Josh Hino, like when like Rich Hirsch was like, there was no low tech. There was no like Stranger, obviously, like that kind of stuff. He was, I don't even know who he was riding for, Mosh or something, or like those brands back in the day. But Robbie would always be with whoever's in town. So me and him became friends. And then when Fit was working on some stuff, when the web stuff was starting to come about, I was able to do something like a bike check with Dakota and like some other things. I got my foot in the door. And again, I think that's where like being at the bike shop got me like a little more like connected than just like being a rider. But at the same time, we were riding vans and we were riding Fullerton all the time. So we had already been like pretty decent friends, I would say, by then. So once I started doing some of the filming stuff with the bike shop and then Robbie saw some of that work, I was able to come into start working there. And then like Dylan Ambrose, I'm not sure if you're familiar with or not, but he worked at the building distribution for like a long time. But when he was like first there, he threw some of his own jams. I think he was a sales rep at that time. And he threw some of his own jams locally. And he had me film the recap videos. So like through him doing that, some of my work started getting in front of their eyes just from that. And then I think that helped connect the dots of like getting me to do something. I guess they thought it was good enough that they can kind of like rely on me to do it. I'm a local like filmer who's like trying to do something. But I wasn't working on like I think they were starting to work on Stay Fit. And they made this like web series of like telling what people kind of should be doing now or are doing now, where they put like a behind the scenes series out. But it was so new, it didn't really catch like it should have. And like it was like hard to figure out because you didn't really have like a filmer out filming that behind the scenes stuff. And the filmer was just filming the tricks. And like that already is enough work for somebody to just do on their own to get that extra bit out of it. Like, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that's what I was working on. It was a sub piece to a video. And so I was new, but it was my first like video job. And that's where I was like working at the bike shop. And then I had to make a video a week that led up to the release of the video coming out.
Were those videos living like on YouTube at the time, or
either YouTube?
Were they like extras on the DVD?
No. It was either YouTube or Vimeo, because all that stuff was kind of fresh. And I guess that was around the 2010 era, 2009, I guess, when the video was being made and released, because Colt started in 2010. But yeah, when that ended, Robbie decided to go do his own brand. And because I worked so closely with him, I was like, yeah, I'm going to come over here. And I didn't work for Colt like immediately. I did, a lot of stuff with like AM or flow riders and just like, but also here's where I forget what you were asking originally, but like, what started happening was Robbie was the team manager for Fox. So we were already working together on the Fit stuff and then the Colt stuff. And so when video jobs would come up for Fox, he would get me doing those jobs. And those were, one here, one there. And the Fox stuff paid really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made me realize that I could go do that professionally if I got more jobs like that. And so at one point, I was getting steady jobs from Fox. And they were just having me do anything BMX related all the time. And at that point, they had so many video needs that were like highlight reels that they would put together for like internal use. So I was making tons of stuff nobody saw except for if you worked there.
Interesting.
But that's how like that industry kind of worked at that time.
Yeah.
Like it was like we have to hype up the people in the brand to like sell it out the brand or like get it into PacSun and these kind of places. So maybe my videos were playing
it's
at
like corporate pitch decks basically.
Yeah, and stuff that like people would see at stores. And I didn't realize it because I didn't go to any of the stores really, but like I've been to some van stores where I saw some stuff I made like playing. I'm like, oh, interesting, that's cool. But
I have seen that too as well. So it is cool when I'm sure when you walk in and you're just like, wait, whoa, that's sick.
Yeah, well, I don't go to the stores too often, but when I do and I see something, it's like, oh, it's interesting. But I don't go, hey, yeah, that's me. I did that now.
Do you know who filmed that?
But what I'm trying to say is, I started getting that work, and then once I was getting like work that was like just paying more than I was making at the bike shop, I went, okay, well, maybe I should go. And that's when I said I put in my 2 weeks, and I told somebody at Fox that worked there at the time that I had quit my job, and so I'm like super available. I'm like, I got nothing else going on, so. And she had me come back to work on something for a week. She's like, I need you for like 3 days. And then like I came in for those 3 days and then ended up taking 5 days. And then she's like, okay, well, just come back next week and you can start working on this. And then come back next week and you can start working on this. And like I didn't leave. So like I just kept working on that stuff at Fox. And
were you at this point still using, you said like Mike, the guy from the bike shop, had invested in gear.
I had his gear. And I was still trying to do stuff for the bike shop too. But there was a point where I had ended up buying my own stuff.
Okay.
And I had his gear. So I had a little bit of both.
What was that gear at the time?
I can't remember exactly the camera, but this is when like full HD cameras were first like coming around. And it wasn't like the 5D era. It was like right before that, where it was still like a camcorder looking thing. I know that Sony made something called like that FX7 or something. Or maybe that's what they have now. It was called something like that, but it was like big camcorder style, like what looks like the HVX, but a Sony version. My friend had that, and I bought that off of him. And then I also had this Canon one, but the Canon one went to tape, and so it was digital footage on tape. So I was capturing, but it was like HD. I don't know. That was like a weird era.
Yeah, because it was like that in between of like digital and then like into this like analog. Yeah, crazy.
And I didn't love that. And then I saw some people who had like hard drives and they were plugging in and then going straight to the hard drive, and that just I didn't even understand that, which makes so much sense now. People can do that with VXs now. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh yeah. But once I got off that, I was into P2 cards on like not the HVX, the HPX. I think is what it was. And that wasn't that great either, because those cards are super expensive and they don't have much space on them.
Yeah.
So you had like about an hour, like with 2 cards. I get it, the solid state, this and that, but like, I don't know. It's so much better now just going on an SD card with like 128 like megabytes or more. Like, it's much
The
better.
game has
But
changed. Well, that's sick that you kind of just like fell into this, like, did it turn into a full-time job at Fox then?
I was always freelance, but I was just there, and like as they had changes, they brought in like a video director, and he became like a mentor, like a video mentor to me. Like, I feel like I've had like 3 different like mentors. Like Mike at the bike shop was a mentor to me. Robbie's been a mentor to me, and this dude Ryan Marcus, who was at Fox, he was like the video, like how videos work mentor. Like Robbie taught me in production. Like, obviously he was my like gateway into understanding like the business of like BMX and bikes and everything. But like, like I can plan a trip now. I can like organize things. I understand like the needs that the bike company has based on like, which essentially would be any company really. Like,
Sure.
like, okay, so, this is how much is being spent. So this is how we can get through this. And this, hopefully this, creates enough like interest from the brand that converts into sales. Like, and it's not done on paper. It's just kind of done knowing the clients, like, or the clientele, your customer, so to say, what's really cool about the BMX stuff is you never really had to look at them like that, because we're providing like a piece of entertainment, like, wow, you think the riders are sick, you like the videos, like, and that essence just flows into the clothing they make, the bikes they make, what the riders represent to that. And then like the end that Robbie has to do, and the rest of the people that work at the warehouse, who like work really hard to make all the other pieces fit into play, is like having that stuff be accessible, making sure that it's here at the warehouse or to the bike shop or able to get it, because you make something that's sick and then no one can get it. Well, they'll just keep watching the video, but now,
they're not making any money, nothing ever.
And all that money is, from what I've seen, goes to just make the business stronger and make the trips happen and make the team better and make like, so like, to me, that's like one of the cooler things about Colt in particular, but it seems like the BMX industry in general. And, I would think that for even some of the mountain and road stuff, especially if it's not necessarily the bigger corporate companies, where the money comes back and they just reinvest because they're growing their business. And if they're doing it for the right reasons, it just makes a better business, like, and one that's like easier to support and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It was cool to be like a part of that, where we were on the front end of like getting people's interest and like, but doing it in the most pure way I think we could do it. And so I was like really lucky to have him as a mentor, and still like a mentor and a good friend of mine. But yeah, I'm at this place now where it's like, well, let's move on to see like what else we can do, because it feels like the BMX game, to be really in it, like, I don't think I was in a position anymore where I was going to help the brand as much as like I was when I was younger and driven in a way that I was like really tuned in. Like, I feel like the landscape of like what's going on in BMX has changed, and I'm not really paying attention to all like certain details of it, or being in the mix with like
the small details of,
or even just like the how it's going to cycle. There's younger people coming in, there's new pros, there's new like trends and like, if I'm just like making something that I think and it's out of touch and now people aren't as interested or whatever, then the brand, I don't know, the brand needs somebody who's like really kind of in tune and lives it. And I did that for a really long time, but I have to like, my heart is like in a little bit of a different place. And if I just kept trying without like really reassessing where I was, I feel like it could throw things off for everybody. So I felt like it was best for me to just like venture on to like work on these things. Like, like I'm excited to talk about using the drone and using like gimbals and like trying to shoot like other style things that like I don't know, it just seemed like the right time for me to like move away from being like the sole person doing that. And I'm hoping that like somebody kind of fills that position that's like doing what I was doing, but only in the current state of BMX, right?
Yeah.
Like if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think that like if the brand is going to go on for long, even like, yeah, and you never want to see it end. So I would say even longer than my lifetime, then like somebody's going to be there doing it. It just seems like now is the time for kind of that change to be going on.
The change of guard. How many years did you spend with Colt?
Well, I was there like with the brand
From
since
the
the beginning,
right?
and then in about I think 2014, I was like salaried or like still I was like 1099, but like I was
full
just
time.
I was just I was like put on. I was getting enough every month that my focus was with Colt. Actually, not in 2014. That was probably more like 2016 that happened. But like I was starting to get like a retainer kind of thing where I would get money every month for working on videos. And we made Small Talk, the like AM video, because Talk is Cheap had finished and Navaz made that. Navaz made Let 'Em Talk. But he's like, you know, a seasoned like professional at that time. Obviously still is, but like I wasn't. So I wasn't like the person for the job in that early on. Couldn't take on those responsibilities.
You would have been overwhelmed jumping in.
Yeah. So I got to work my way up to being in that position and then work on developing like what I guess the brand turned into, but with everybody's help. Like Adam Roy was a big factor. Robbie was obviously a big factor. And then when it came down to like Javi coming in and working a little bit more in the art side, then he became a contributing factor in some of the videos that we did more recently. But Robbie's like been the guy who's had his like pulse on like what's going on. Everything's ran by him. He's always putting in suggestions for music and but I would just take, you know, pieces from what a writer wanted to do, what he wanted to do, what I kind of felt might be the right thing, and we just put that all into like one pot, stir that up, and then we make what we make. So even though I had like my hands on the computer pushing the buttons and doing this stuff and like a little bit of pulse from it, it was a lot of other input. So I think that like that's why I don't know, I feel like somebody coming into that role would be perfect because there's still going to be Robbie's input, which is still a big part of what the brand's going to be.
Well, and they can kind of pick up like where you left off too, with like you did establish this culture and like this style of what was being communicated to the outside through media, through video. And like I've always thought, I was always attracted to the Colt brand because of that, if I'm being honest. And it's such a cool thing to see. So for me, it's like, where did that style come from? And you're kind of like explaining that it, like everybody kind of contributed to this pot. And like, how did you really start honing in and developing what your style was through your time there?
Well, I mean, part of the style actually kind of comes from Javi's input into like there's some videos, like there was a video we did called Cultivate, which was we at the time we wanted to do a series, but things just like keep changing. And so we never really made a second one, but that one had a lot of like internet, almost like meme style stuff in it. And Javi was the one who would find all those kinds of things. And so when I got them, I like put them in the place where I thought they should go. But like he like watches like weird movies and like pulls these clips. And I think Adam Roy did a similar thing because when we worked on It's Later Than You Think, he brought like a VHS camera that shot onto VHS tape. And we like had to hook up this like thing into my computer and like get all the footage into my computer, and then I like messed with it. So like if you watch It's Later Than You Think, you'll see a bunch of stuff that's contributed from Adam or myself or Javi. But like getting that kind of stuff, like that isn't necessarily my style, but that's why like for me, people I think associate it with me. But I was just like taking the pieces and putting them into place. And so the stuff that's kind of like that is my style is like using like there's like a pretty crappy camera look that I do, and like there's some glitch effects and stuff that I like actually make myself with like either just filming really closely with this crappy camera and just like shaking it around and making like these effects and like just I don't know, there's a bunch of different things which I'm actually going to try and put out. Also what I've never like talked about, but YAWN Media is the YouTube channel that I'm doing now, and that was like something I started a long time ago.
Yeah, how long ago did you start that? Because I've seen it
but
around for
that was
forever.
that was before like I was even doing stuff with Fit or anything. Like we did an Aiken benefit jam at Fullerton Bikes that was that had YAWN. That was through it. Yeah. And if you went to YAWNBMX.com, there's still a website that functions. That was me trying to do like media back in the day, like something that looks more like what Ride, BMX, or Vital would have been at the time, where I'm doing like bike checks and like things like kind of scene report kind of things like that. And so I guess I've always had that in my head to be doing. And that's another reason why like things are changing in my like ideas and landscapes that don't really fit with just doing like Colt edits and things like that, is that like I have like a pretty big love for like all of BMX. And so by just doing something for a brand and like having to be down to like that brand, I don't know. I felt like, I could do something that would be encouraging for everybody and help BMX look cool in my eyes. And I'm not like trying to take away from anybody else who's doing their thing. So I'm just trying to put my version of it on the table, I guess. Like, and so, as well as I'm trying to get these other jobs and work into like media, I'm hoping to like give back in that way of being able to do stuff, like that's like kind of all for BMX.
Yeah, it's like all encompassing,
yeah,
which is cool.
And so, yeah, I don't know.
Where did the YAWN name come from?
Well, technically, I didn't really come up with it.
Okay.
So that's like kind of sounds weird, but it kind of just became the thing I did. So I had two friends who use it almost like as a tag, but they weren't even like tagging. They literally had like things that they were gluing places that said YAWN.
Oh, like wheat paste style?
Kind of like that, but like this was actually like almost like wood or something, like, and they were like gluing it to the ground.
I've seen people do stuff. That. Like it is that multimedia thing, which is
but they didn't do that very much.
Yeah.
But when my friend Stephen Campbell, he was working in the BMX industry and I was working at the bike shop, and like we talked about wanting to do this like media stuff, and we both just kind of came up with like that we thought the YAWN thing was cool and that we should run with it. And he literally is the person who was like, well, we should, like, I was like, I think the names looks cool because that's what I saw, and I see these letters that like, go together. Like, I know I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now, but like, see how the word like flows? Like,
yeah.
I don't know how you can see it on the cameras, yeah. But like the word is just like a zigzag and it's all like pushed together. And like that caught my attention more than anything else. So it's just like,
that is cool looking.
The shape of the letters, like they could be done in all types of different ways, but like it was intriguing because it's just a simple 4-letter word that like, if you put it on a shirt,
it almost looks like art. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even if it just said YAWN in a more like regular thing, and be like, what is this? Like, I don't know. There's something intriguing about it to me. And then he was the one who broke it down into like, oh, we could say like you are watching nothing, which I didn't really play off in the beginning because I was like, I like the word. Then when the YouTube channel came back around here recently, I was like, maybe I should go on with the you are watching nothing thing. And so like I started it with just like putting YAWN up, and then I went in and like switched some things. Like I switched the Instagram name, so now when I like DM somebody or something, it says that you are watching nothing, and people start going like, oh, now I know what this stands for. And it did stand for that the whole time, but I didn't use it that way. But now I have like a whole way that I want to play it off of the YouTube thing that will get me a little farther out of BMX than just like a BMX channel. But like I'm hoping that I'm like 50% BMX, 50% other things. Like that's what I'm hoping. And I'm hoping I can make something that's interesting for everyone. So that somebody who isn't into BMX gets a little bit of like a understanding of what it is and why that I think it's so special and so cool. But somebody who is into BMX will also watch me make some music or explain video editing or explain concepts, or like just showing just different like aspects. Like, one of the things I want to do is make like a spec commercial. Like I could make a Traction coffee commercial on spec and just be like, all right, like, so what I would do with the you are watching nothing like thing is like, well, here we are. We're like, I don't know. We'll just go through a scenario, right? All right. So we're, boom, the video opens up and it's like, all right, So we got nothing to work with. What can we do? We can make a traction coffee commercial. And then I'm like, all right, so how are we going to do that? And so I have this thing and I just wrote it down. Sometimes I get frustrated when I'm editing and I love Post-its. I'll just doodle or I'll like write out things or I'll make like a full list. I'll be like, okay, I got to do color correction. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'll put those lists up and then I like see them and I rip one off. And then I don't know. I just love having Post-its around and a Sharpie. And I just like make these notes. And I have one where I just wrote down everything starts with a nothing. Like every video I ever made had no clips, had no music, it had nothing. And so that's how I'm kind of like going to wrap this back into the You Are Watching Nothing is like, here we are. We have a blank slate. Okay. Well, first off, traction, coffee. What do we find out from the very beginning of it? We have a name. It's coffee. We have colors and concept and some stylization here. And then the next thing we do is, make it happen. Okay. So now we read this. We're going to find out a little bit about them. Okay, cool. Connect with us. Traction.coffee. We got Instagrams. Let's go look at their Instagram. Then we go look at their Instagram. We see what's going on Instagram. What are they doing? Okay, this is like a little bit of the vibe they have going. How can we bring this to life into a video form? All right, now I'm going to decide we're going to make them a couple of different reels. What are we going to do? Well, we could probably get some coffee beans. We could pour some coffee. We can like incorporate these colors. We can incorporate these fonts. We can incorporate some of these things. But how are we going to bring this stuff to life? Well, I have lights and a backdrop and I can shoot in slow motion. So let's get some stuff going. And so like, that's what I'm planning to do. That's on the side that's not BMX. And then the next side, I go shoot a day in the life with, we'll use Devin Smiley. We go out and shoot his day in the life. And he has some kind of like morning routine of like health to make sure that he's riding good and he's in the cars. And we're going to go to a skate park and then meet up with some other people. And now you have like a different video with the day in the life of that. And the next day you're seeing a Traction Coffee spec commercial being made. And then I send that to you and you go, oh, YAWN made this cool commercial. Check them out. And thanks for making the commercial. And in the future you go, hey, let's work together on something. And then, or your competitor goes, hey, why don't you make a commercial for us? But I don't want that part to happen. But for a company I don't know, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's super cool though. And I love like just the way you just ran us through that creative process too. Like that was, after we talked last year, like I was so fascinated I've always been fascinated by your work, but then actually getting to speak to you and like see how your brain works and like walk through the process with you, like seeing how quick you can think on the fly. And like, I just think like, we went to a restaurant down the road and they had a cheeseburger that had Smucker's Uncrustables for buns.
Yeah.
And you did like the coolest, like it never came out, but you did a video. I
have it still. And I thought about it and Corey brought up, because guess what I bought last night when we went to the grocery store?
Uncrustables for sure.
And I handed them out to everyone and he goes, they're made here. And then he talked about it to Little John. And I was like, dang it, I need to make that video. I still have it on my phone. Like,
amazing.
I just need to do it. But like, I was like, kind of embarrassed with it at the time, but now I'm like a little bit more out of my shell of like worrying about what people think.
You're kind of owning that where you're at with it.
That like I can do something goofy.
But it was beautiful to watch like that process because you're just like, this is something I kind of want to do. And like you just turned on like this persona and like did it really quick. And like even if at the time you were like worried about what people thought, like just seeing that creative process like play out really quick, it was like, wow. That was awesome. So.
Well, I feel like now there's like an outlet and a place that it should land. Before it was just like a video I might put on my Instagram, where now that I have an Instagram and a YouTube that need things all the time and you just have to make something and then make the next thing, like it makes it make a little bit more sense. Like again, like playing back into the You Are Watching Nothing thing, it kind of like goes into like, it can be all over the place, like this idea of doing a spec commercial is one idea, and like an idea of showing somebody like how you can like easily use your phone to film and edit and you don't need equipment if you understand the basics of like how this clip plays into this clip, and you can just edit it on your phone and that will catch people's attention and they won't care about the quality. Besides, the phone is getting so good that like I literally can't wait till the phone is the camera.
Yeah.
It's like
it's all one thing. You just tote around.
The thing I've said before about it is like that like the iPhone is my favorite camera because it's the only camera I edit You know, like you filmed it,
That's a good point.
and then I just go to edit on it. And like the little recaps and stuff I've been making, like I'm like in the car while we go to the next spot, loading the clips I just got into iMovie. And then by the end of the day, I just kind of sort through them and they're all right there. And I go, I don't really need that clip and whatever. I'll shorten this one up. But like everything I collected, I didn't go home, put the card in the computer, open Premiere, drag the footage in, log that footage, go through all that. Like that just takes so much time. And like it's good for the big finished project, but like as soon as like even those projects can be done on the iPad or your phone.
I mean, I just saw, have you seen the new Apple device that they announced yesterday? It's
Nope.
like the VR headset, and they literally have it to where you can literally put this headset on. You can sit next to your computer and you can reach out and grab
Whoa.
timelines and cut timelines.
Whoa.
It's insane. It's exactly what you're saying. It's like that is just going to make it that much easier. And
Wow.
Same thing, it will connect with an iPad. You can load all the footage in, and you can literally, they were like showing people like moving their fingers around, grabbing clips, cutting clips. And I was just like, okay, well, that's like, looks like something Tony Stark would use. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy
Dang.
looking, dude.
No, I did not know about that at all. And that's probably the only thing I've heard of recently that sounds actually like helpful. I don't know. People are on about, you know, all the AI stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. At some point, maybe I'm gonna tap out and just like paint things. Like I don't know, like
just
do
go
something
full analog.
Yeah, just do something like different or like woodworking or something that just like isn't gonna be done on AI.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, like that does sound pretty helpful, even though it like kind of is out of my realm.
Yeah.
But
it seems like you've like throughout your career, like you've just figured it out and you've adapted every step of the way, and like you continue to progress and grow. So I'm sure whatever comes next, whether it's like AI tools or a tool like this Apple headset, like I'm sure once you get your hands on it, like you'll master it in no time.
I have to like be open to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I really do, because I feel like I've been close to the some of the other tools we talked about at the beginning, like the drone and that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I need to not let it be like a hurdle for me and see it as a tool. But I'm like already like, what? I don't know. That sounds a little crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do like to make things quickly. And so if that helps speed the process up, that's fine with me.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So like when it comes to creating content or any sort of like video project, it does require like a mix of technical skills and like such an artistic vision. Like what aspects of content creation do you find the most challenging, and like how do you overcome those types of things?
Let's see. Let me see if I understand what you're saying. So I love making a project like something I kind of feel like has a beginning, middle, and end to it. I hate taking that and making it into Instagram videos. I hate shooting in 16:9 and then cropping it to 9:16 and not having the shot anymore. I just have a sliver of the shot that I'm keyframing around to make fit in the thing. I never know what to make as the thing that's going to hook you to want to watch the video. Like, I hate that aspect of it, but I don't really know on the other end. That's like the only thing I find to be a challenge.
Sure.
I don't know what else. Maybe you could elaborate more on the question.
No, I think that's a really great answer. Like, other than just like, you know, are you going out now shooting vertically on the iPhone, or are you just primarily being like, I just want to shoot like 16:9, you know?
So so one thing that just happened that I haven't talked about yet, that goes back to doing something for the BMX community that I thought was like really important, is I put on this thing called the BMX event, which I'm planning to do more, but I kind of started with some crowdfunding to get some ramps made to get out to Epic Ride Shop in Westminster to just like get a jam going and get everyone together to ride. And I knew I would need help from some brands, but I wanted to start it with just by seeing like who would, buy shirts, then that money would then go towards ramps or even just donate, which the donations, there was a decent amount of people just willing to put in like $25, $50 here. Some people put in like $100. And then a decent amount of people bought some stuff, which was good because I kind of like get some awareness going for YAWN and the website and stuff like that. But like, eventually that just kind of like got the seed money going for like one ramp. And then I started doing like videos that we would like film the process of making the ramps all the way up to the event. Well, pretty much all the way up to the event. At some point I kind of stopped because I felt like I might be losing people's interest with how much I was like putting out on ramp building. And I was like, I'm going to wait till I have them done. So when the next time they see it, they'll be more excited because they'll go, oh, I want to ride
Some
these ramps.
anticipation.
Like, yeah. So
yeah.
I kind of went with what I thought was the more interesting aspects, and then realized like, again, this is like learning as I go about this kind of like thing. But I was having trouble just like coming up with something to make for YouTube in general, that I was like, you know what, if I put this process out there, that process will make me have to make videos, and I'll see what kind of reactions I get along the way. And it's not overwhelming, but it is more than nothing. Like it's
like a litmus test, right? You can kind of gauge like what people want to and what they don't want to see.
But coming back to like the stuff of how I was shooting, in the beginning, I was just shooting everything on my camera. Like the first pitch videos, all that stuff was just shot on like my camera and then cut down to fit on Instagram. And the first time I did it, I was lazy and I didn't even crop it down. I just put like logos up above and below it.
I did notice that actually,
out of laziness, and I didn't know what to cut. So I just cut a bunch of sections and just fired them all out. Like I fired out like 4 of them in one day because the video was like probably close to 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, well, I'll put this section up and I'll put this section up and then I'll put this section up. And so I was just like kind of like blasting it out, which again, I didn't know what to do or what not to do. But yeah, I cause I couldn't reframe like the ramps into the right size. So I just left it.
Fit, yeah.
I just left it. And I had, before I put that video out, I had so much hesitation. Like I was like, okay. And it's weird. Like everybody gets to open their phone and react to something and react however they want. They go, oh, cool. They could like it. They could comment. They could share it. They could do all this stuff. But like, it still is seen, even if you don't know it. Like, oh, okay, you put something up, I watched it. Even if somebody didn't like it or touch it at all, they might have watched it and paid attention to it. And that got into their head. And then maybe the next one, so I don't know how things are affecting. But when I'm just sitting in my house, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to put this out. And then I put it out and like, I have to just go do something. Like I have to like pretend I didn't. Otherwise I'll like get critical of myself and whatever. But for after I did this, and I happened to do it on a Wednesday, which is the day Vans happens. And Eddie or somebody was like, hey, go to Vans. And so I went to Vans, and like everybody's like, dude, this event thing, it looks cool. And like I don't really go to Vans that often anymore. And so I just happened to go that day, and I was like, oh, that was cool that I actually got good feedback. And then, people are asking me right off the bat, like, hey, what can I do to help? And obviously I want to be like, oh, you could donate or buy something. But I would just tell people, if you want to help, just share it. Like put it on your story, share it out. Cause that helps.
That's huge.
That helps already. And I'm not asking anybody to buy anything. And everyone went like, oh, you're right. Like I saw them go like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. And so it's spreading just helped. And then when I got that positive feedback, and then after I put up like the first video where I think we literally just go measure a table, and which is like kind of weird to like, we just went to Vans and measured the table because that was about the same size that we were thinking to make it. That would be the first thing. And then the next thing, we're building the video or building the table. And then we make a video of that. Once I got to building the table with Dak, and Dak kind of did most of the work, I filmed it. And then I went, oh, let me just grab a phone shot too. And then I started going with both and going, there'll be a full video, and I'll tell people to go watch the full video from these iPhone clips. And I'll start making iPhone like a different style video that's in the iPhone TikTok-y kind of world.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the video I had and turning that into the video.
I was
that.
Like, so
it's
two
different.
totally separate mediums basically.
Exactly. And people say that. Somebody like Gary Vee is like, learn this thing, learn that thing, learn like what goes on in these different platforms. They're almost like different cultures.
Yeah.
And anyways, and so then like that became easier for me because I went, oh, here's the video, and then I also just made, you know, my own like Instagram cuts with my phone, and I never even used the music and stuff that came on Instagram before, and now I am, and I think that helps because I think they push that stuff when you use the music. But I would like put my own song, edit that in iMovie, and put it up instead of like using their
utilizing
stuff.
the tools.
But because I had everything already there, caught like in 916, like I was like, all right, that works. Like I'm just gonna like keep doing this. So I was always just trying to get both. Like, I mean, one of them I shot completely on my phone, which I actually like better. Me and Max like put like coping on the ramp. That's what I mean. It got pretty tedious down to the point where we're just putting coping on, but it went from building the ramp to making it rideable. And after that point, I was like, people aren't probably going to want to see me by myself, just like stumbling through cutting all this stuff together. And I was like kind of so nervous because Dak was busy and he couldn't help me anymore that I was just like, I have to do most of this myself. And then we built these wedges that like collapse because everything's supposed to fit my van. And that's why I'll be able to go to other bike shops. It all fits in my 15-passenger van.
This little bug, man.
Yeah, there's just one guy hanging around. But anyways, so yeah, all this stuff's supposed to fit in the van. So it had like a design that was like needed to be figured out. And so I know that would probably be interesting for the video, but it was so hard for me to like figure it out. I couldn't think of the video and that. And again, I was like, I'm going to let these things exist and then people will see, you know. And then I ended up making a video of me cleaning my van out, like taking it from like the van I was living in before to like empty where it all fits. And literally I didn't know. Like the only thing I measured was like the fact that like everything should fit in theory and that the length of the van had enough length for like the 10-foot long ramps.
Crazy.
And that's all I measured out. And I started loading them up by myself and they're so heavy. And then I got some friends to help me put them in, but like
seeing the photo of it all packed in
Yeah.
there was absolutely mind-blowing, dude.
So at the event itself that like just happened, there were more ramps than were in my thing because we had like a quarter pipe that we borrowed and like we had a couple other things. But for the most part, everything that you would see in there's like a test video that we put out. Everything from that was the stuff that was in the van.
Heck
so
yeah. That's so
and
incredible.
we have one shot. It didn't quite come out how I wanted, but I was like, I need one shot of us unloading everything out of the back door. And I had ended up playing it so fast that you can't really tell. And I put like logos and stuff over top of it. But like, if I could do it again, it would look pretty crazy because it's like one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing coming out of there. And then like to see it be like a very functional, like not only like a setup for people to ride at a jam, but like you can move it in so many different ways that like every place I go can have like a different setup or something different going on.
And just a mobile skate park, basically.
Pretty much. And I think that all the stuff like that just fits together in such a way that like everyone can have fun riding it, almost like on any skill level. And there's just like enough diversity in what the objects are that like it makes it fun for, you know, anyone to ride. So I'm hoping to do more. I mean, if I had a better van, I'd drive all the way out to Colorado. But like at the moment, I'm going to stay in the Southern California area.
As it grows, we'll help figure it out, man.
Yeah.
So what actually inspired this event?
Trying to not lose like touch of doing something for BMX. Like that's always been like in my head and in my heart, but like it's kind of a matter of like, well, when are you going to do it? And there's almost like no good time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went for it. Like this coming to Colorado didn't even exist at that point. And these trips butted up next to each other. So the event literally ended. I had one day to make a recap video and then I came out here. But I said yes to this one because like my intention with like stepping out to do my own stuff is that when Colt needed me to go on a trip and work on a video for them and they needed my help, that I would be there to do it. And so when I got hit up to come out here, I was like, yeah, that's perfect because I wanted to come to the Fast and Loose premiere. I want to make videos for Colt like as they're needed, and I want to be doing some of my own stuff. And so like all those pieces kind of like are in play, I guess. But I definitely had this idea to make something like a picnic table style obstacle because like I think that that's like such a cool, like what it should be. Like, it should be that anywhere you go, you should be able to ride the picnic table, but they don't really ride correctly. Like, they're like, the bench parts are too close and too awkward. But like, in theory, it's like, here's a lower ledge and here's a higher ledge. You should be able to like grind. Like, you should be able to kind of like get
Hop
combos
on,
and stuff. And like, and I was like, you know what? I bet if you just made like it look like a picnic table, that would look cool. And like, what ended up happening is it doesn't really look like a picnic table, really. But that's where the whole thing started from, because I had an idea to make an entire contest that was picnic table-esque, but like some would be like warped. It would almost look like Alice in Wonderland. Like,
that's cool.
One
like
picnic table's down,
from...
one picnic table's all bent and like makes a quarter pipe, and like, and then maybe there'd be some other aspects of it that look like schoolyard stuff. But like, to me, it's like almost like something that like Red Bull would be involved with, where like, oh, if there was a little bit of money behind it, like you can make it look Alice in Wonderlandy and cool, and like it's street but like on acid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
I like where it's like the vision is at with it too.
Like, one picnic table was down and there's an electrical box, but like, you know, it looks like an electrical box, and like, or like actual like cellar door kind of like thing. So like, it would be very street and very like, I don't know, something that could be like a video contest or something like that. Like, that is like how I thought, like, oh, that would be cool. Haha, whatever. And then it was like, I told somebody about like a picnic table with some ideas, and like, next thing I know, like, after that conversation about like, oh, that's a pretty cool idea, and they're talking about ramps that they had ideas for, I'm just like, this is again where like the multimedia stuff comes in, because now I'm like, oh, I like design. Like, I really do like when I was building out my van, I liked figuring out how to make it functional and spacious and like make all these things work together. Like, almost having a limit is cooler than having endless opportunity.
Yeah, like,
because
knowing what the parameters are.
Yeah, and then I'm
what
like,
you can do.
Oh yeah, how do I get 2 or 3 things out of one thing?
Uh-huh.
And then that's where like the cleverness like comes in, and I really like have been intrigued by that kind of stuff. Like, if I was on Pinterest or something and saw something super clever, like, I'd be like, oh, I never even thought of that, you know?
Yeah.
Even like the way my bed works with like sliding in and out that was in there. Like, the parameters were that I was going to keep the bench seat in there because my house was still functioning as a tool for loading bikes and people to go to spots.
Yep.
So I was like, I only have from the bench seat back to work as like the bedroom area, like where I'm going to sleep. I needed storage for tools and my own stuff. I had access to shovels and brooms and all this stuff from one side. I had like stoves and like other tools and power tools and stuff in another area. And then underneath it, I would keep my clothes, and have like this Colt duffel bag that I would use for my laundry, and that would go in a certain spot so I can like grab it in an easy place. And then, but my bed was designed as like one cushion, and then it would like pull out, and there would be these back cushions that look like a couch, and I'd pull them and I just put them down to fill in the blank spot of where I was pulling out that thing.
Damn.
So I had to get like the cushions made at like an upholstery place, like to go in there. And so, yeah, I love like design kind of stuff. So when it came to the ramp, it went from just like, how do I make the bench to like, well, why couldn't it turn into an up ledge too? And so that's where I designed like boxes, and just like essentially took 2x6s and a piece of plywood and then fit boxes up underneath it. And then was like, well, if one of them's on a slant and I turn it, then wouldn't it sit as an up ledge? And if the other one was slightly longer and had the same slant, then that would make up for the up ledge height.
Yep.
And if they're the same height flat, then it should sit down. The main question was, could we make it not needing any kind of tools? Like, obviously,
Don't have to like fasten it together.
no fastening, and everything just wedged
Like
right
modular.
in there. And you just get a couple people to pull the top up and somebody to spin down the bottoms, and you put it back, and now you have an up ledge, and the other ledges that go with it turn into all types of like different setups.
That's so cool.
If you go onto YAWN Media YouTube channel, the latest video that's on there is the recap jam, and you can see it in action. You can see him turn it over. You can see how all the ledges like create all these different setups out of like one feature. And then, you know, there's a couple other things that we made that all fit in the van too. But like, that was the thing that started it. And then just like, I was thinking like, how do we also use this to promote BMX? And I thought of Fullerton Bikes actually, where if I had to drop off a flyer and people were going in and out of the bike shop, and there was like a poster on the wall and a flyer on the counter, and they would see it and they'd look down and it would just say the BMX event. It's just so generic,
So
but
broad.
so like to that world, or a parent with their kid, they go, oh, BMX, like it's just like, it doesn't need to have like the ruckus gene. Like it didn't need to have something like that. It has the word BMX in it, and it's just a thing that's going on.
I love that.
And like the thing I didn't realize is I didn't even put any of that on the ramps. Like it needs to be like a nice BMX event thing on the ramp. So like that's another thing because I need to repaint them and stuff. They got a little bit beat up, but yeah, I need to work on the branding and stuff of that thing. But like, yeah, my hopes is like, not only do I get to go to the BMX shops first, but if I get into some other shops, maybe it puts more awareness towards the BMX thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a particular brand or a particular anything. It's just helping it in general. And that's what I think is kind of important right now, at least, is that like, let's just help create some more awareness, because somebody's going to buy from somebody, and then that's just going to help grow in all different directions. And if brands partner with me and like work like they did with this one that we just did, that I don't know, that can help one brand one time and do a different brand the next time, or I don't know. I don't care as much about how that part works out, because I think that like that'll like just happen. Even if the brands weren't involved, it would still be helping BMX. It's just like, I don't know, like it is a partnership when you have somebody like helping you promote and you're promoting them back, and they get a little exposure and you get a little exposure. So like, I think that part's like important, but at the same time, like the core of it is really just like, you know, if I could have every brand show up, that would be great, but that's a lot to manage. So I just went with having a couple brands on my first round, because I felt like at some point, if every brand wanted to get involved, you just have a bunch of logos on a flyer that no brand is impacted in any way. Like,
becomes too overwhelming.
So I just went with just Colt, Fiend, and OSS also helped out.
That's sick. Well, what a like beautiful proof of concept, like after seeing the video and just like seeing the videos leading up to it with like you, Dak, and Max like building these ramps. Like it's just so cool, and like to see it all come together, and like, you know, being able to pour back into BMX and like, you know, add your own flair to the culture of BMX is really cool. Like, what does that mean to you to know that you're able to like, you're at a place now where you can kind of start pouring back in your own ways?
Well, I feel like it's something that I wanted from when I started doing the YAWN stuff to begin with. Like I was saying, there was a media site I tried to do, but when I started getting jobs, I was like kind of overwhelmed with trying to keep working on that. And I went with what I saw as like productive and important at that time. And I think that now I'm taking knowledge and experience, and then like kind of things that I just can't like let die in my own way, like things that I've like had ideas for that I've never gotten around to, you know, older, again, like, you know, getting closer to being 40 isn't like a huge, like, I don't know, it's not like that old in a way, but at some point it's like, when am I going to get around to stuff? So that's another reason, like I could have waited to like really figure out what's going on with the BMX event, but like by adding the element of watching me figure it out, it was like that storytelling that I think also made the thing successful in a way, you know, like
100%.
I think that like if I had it figured out and just said, here, it's happening, and there were ramps, it wouldn't be the same as like, what are you up to?
Yeah. Well,
wait, is that going to work?
I feel like that gets lost in the noise too, because there is so much going on in the world all the time, not just in BMX, but just in people's daily lives.
Yep.
So the fact that you were able to kind of like set the hook with like telling a story and like setting the vibe and all that stuff, that's so unique to be able to then turn around and be like, cool, now here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, but like you built it up, and like that's very special, man.
I'm trying to think what kind of getting at. I don't remember. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
just what it meant to you.
It was. Well, I mean, it also really helped me, like a few things that like I talked about, like just like understand even what I'm trying to do with YouTube, or how I can even give back to BMX, and like kind of just like get the wheels going. So now, you know, I feel like more like ready to just take on the next thing, or just keep adding to the YouTube and at least creating like entertainment or something that embraces the culture.
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, is what I think is really important. So I felt like the event itself was like a stamp, like the first, like, I don't know, grand opening of like really going after it. Cause before, when I was just doing, trying to make videos, you know, pretty much from January till now, June, I've been just like trying to figure out, you know, I've had Vans work, I've had some Colt work. I've done stuff with a bike shop. I've done some stuff with a couple other things, but like I never was like taking the YAWN stuff on that seriously. And so now it's like the first thing I'm thinking about when I wake up, instead of like, I'll get around to it,
I
you know?
love that.
So that's the difference that I think that just jumping in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I definitely had like days that were like, whoa, I'm doing this. And it doesn't even feel like that anymore. It feels like, yeah, I'm capable. Like,
Yeah, this is what I'm doing
yeah,
now.
and even with the videos, I'm actually going to make some of the videos easier because like I'll now have to build ramps.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just need to work on videos.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like submersing yourself in, you know, YAWN, which is really cool.
yeah,
And like you're saying, I feel like that does make the process of creating your own brand that much easier when you're just like, wait, okay, everything I'm doing on a day-to-day basis now feeds this business. And that's special.
It's not as hard for me to like figure out to make something for YouTube, even if it's like super small and very quick. Like, and that might just be that I have to make an Instagram video and that'll be all I get to that week because I'm busy doing something else.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like before I was like putting everything on the back burner. You know, like my great ambition was that like every project I do had a B-sides video that was on YAWN. If I did something for Colt, there was another aspect of it that I'm putting on my own thing. And I'm going to be able to get to that easier now because I'm like understanding like how to go about it. Like I can't say that there's necessarily going to be something like that for this event, but most likely I'll have at least a video for the premiere, the Fast and Loose premiere. And maybe not a full like behind the scenes video for Colt, but like there's not going to be too much premiere stuff in the Colt video. So I get to kind of like split that up into a couple of different pieces where like my focus is on making the best video I can make for Colt, and not worrying about what I'm getting out of it. I'm trying to put stuff on Instagram and do that kind of stuff. But you know, something like the premiere where like Colt isn't going to have 5 minutes of the premiere in their riding video.
Yep.
They're going to have like a minute and a half of a highlight of like some things that have gone on. So like I might as well, especially because the Fast and Loose premiere to me is so much more of a culture thing, you know, like if I have my lapel mic and I ask people their thoughts on it, I can talk to anybody and put that out and anyone could watch it and they'd be like, all right, cool. Where that doesn't like necessarily need to go into like what Colt's doing. So I don't know, just like kind of figuring out those pieces where I can make something for myself and make something for another brand that's not like crossing over too much or like whatever. But like, yeah, no, I definitely want to make some like behind the scenes kind of things, even if they're like quicker and I just have to sit there with a voiceover and go, this is how this was done. And this was how that was done. And then give, you know, the brand their, the video they paid for and that they wanted out of it. So that way people can start to watch the process and then hopefully they're like tuning in to me and what I'm doing. And then the days where like I don't really have that, like again, it'll be like, okay, well today we're making a spec commercial or whatever other idea I have. Like we can make a song.
Just
like,
go have some fun with it.
Yeah, I have like ideas of like kind of like working in the music of you know, kind of showing how much music can impact what's going on. And I know these kind of videos exist, but like if you had like a shot and then you had different music behind it, it would change the impact
it changes.
of it. You know,
like
if you
even
have,
last night we were watching, what was that? Like Fox Expendable 3 and we had like disco music playing and we were like, huh, this is kind of funny, you know? Like, yeah.
But I'm talking about like how you can make something suspenseful by just adding
just that
and
background.
Now, and that, you know, that's like the difference in like if you ever seen anything animated, like even the intro to It's Later Than You Think has like a person walking, opening a door, turning on a light switch. Like there's like a very, I believe that's in the intro of that video. I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right. I know what you're talking about.
Adam sent me that and it's just a thing. And I had to go lay in all the sound underneath it. And I sent that back to him. Like, what do you think of this? And he's like, oh, that's perfect. Like, So like just taking it, adding in footsteps, adding in a door and a light switch coming on and whatever that was, like made the whole thing seem
Just pops that
real.
much
Like,
more.
yeah, it's just like it's there, but just a quiet like drawing looks great, but the audio is what brings it to life. So that same kind of thing happens when you put the right music behind the things you're seeing. Like, yeah, you make something funny, you can make something suspenseful, you can put in, I mean, that's why these movie soundtracks work with like popular music, is because that music carries like, I don't know, you put
it's
that Born to Be Wild behind the motorcycle. It's like, you're like,
this makes
sense. We're cruising. Like, I don't know.
That's something I actually never understood until like recent years, is like how people like made a living as like sound engineers. I'm like, what is that? Like didn't understand it. And like the more like I love watching like different producers on YouTube and stuff, and like seeing how they're building, like they're layering those sounds and they're creating this vibe, exactly what you're saying. It's like, it is fascinating when you put that to a visual, and like you watch a video that doesn't have all those layers and you're like, that's entertaining. And then you watch it with all those layers and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like it changes the whole thing.
So I'm saying experience.
Yep.
So like somebody could want me to edit the video. Somebody could want me, and I mean, it's happened recently, that they just need the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So like I have to add what it is I can add to either what I'm seeing or what they're needing or what I think the viewer wants to see. And then hopefully I get more into graphics. I do a little bit of graphic stuff. Actually, my girlfriend does a lot of the graphic stuff you see on the YAWN channel, because I got an iPad recently and we were both using it for graphics, and like she would just start drawing like before she went to bed, like different things. And next thing I know, she's just like, she knows how to use the Procreate app better than I do. And she's just like making stuff on her own. And then I'm like, I need to make some titles. She goes, what do you need? Tell me. Just send me a list of what you need. And she would make them. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. That takes one thing off my plate. But a few times I like end up doing my own thing for it. But I mean, I definitely have some more to do in that area. But at the moment, I'm just like really working on like getting the videos to be how I want them to be. And like, I'll work on more graphic stuff later. But yeah.
Well, I love that, like, ever since, I first met you, and then again, going back to watching your stuff from, years back, like the intentionality really comes through to the surface. And just hearing you talk throughout this episode about wanting to be intentional about how things are perceived or how things look, like, where do you think that intentionality comes from in your life? Like, where did that get, instilled in you?
I don't know. Like, one of the things that I do know about my curiosity with like, I guess I've had like a understanding of like behind the scenes kind of stuff for just when I was a little kid, because I would watch this show called Movie Magic, and I would watch like special effects being done that were not, and I would never watch the movie. I would be like I still have never seen Terminator, but I've seen special effects that were done in Terminator, and like, I can't think of any other movies right off the top of my head, but like they're like talking about how these shots were made, or like, like, I don't know, like I can't think of like particular movies, but I was like so fascinated by that. Excuse me. I was so fascinated by that I think that it made me, just understand the process of like, I mean, that show was called Movie Magic, and it is like magic, where it's like you are like kind of setting up something, and then you're doing a trick, and then people go, oh wow, that's cool. Like, but like really, like it's made so cheesily and like so bad, but like it's covered up with the camera or an angle or an effect, or as a magician would do, like distraction or sleight of hand or like whatever it is, like so that aspect has always been like interesting, that you can like, I found it interesting. Then I learned how you could do that kind of stuff early on. So I understood like, I was in like plays and stuff when I was younger. I was like kind of like not theatrical, but like definitely because of the music stuff, I think it bled over into like just more just stage stuff. Like,
right? Yeah.
I've been playing drums on stage since I was like 11 or 12. So like I've just like been comfortable like kind of in that kind of like world, I guess. Like, and so like you get done playing drums, you go off stage, you're now behind the scenes, and like people are like, all right, get over here, we got to do this. Like I've seen like how all that stuff kind of like works. So I realized like you're doing stuff for an audience, and like you're like, you stand backstage and it's almost time to go on, and then you go on and you do your lines, and you like, so I understood all that stuff early on. And so like somehow that translated over to, again, that experience thing. Like, well, if you want to put on a good play or a good performance, then now these performances are done in a different way. And then once I got into video a little bit more and started understanding like the structure of like storytelling, I went to like a like, what do you call them? Not a conference, but like a workshop.
Okay.
Right. And they were just explaining, it was a guy who makes the SNL sketches, like the video parts.
Oh, I bet that
not
was cool.
Not the actual, you know,
Like the screenplay.
not the stuff that's live, the stuff that's not live. And this dude lives in California and flies to New York every week. And he is getting his list of what they're planning to do. And he's like figuring out on paper, okay, well, if you want that, we're going to need this light here. We're going to need this here. We're going to need that here. We're going to need this location. And there's like people who are helping him and his team of things. But like, you know, he explained not only how he went around doing that, he showed like how you can have a nice light and a cheap light, and how you can make something at Home Depot create the same effect. Obviously, you would want the nice light if you had access to it, but that's like, don't put a limitation to it. And I was already working at Fox and stuff at this time when we went to this thing. So I wasn't like just like in high school going, oh, this is crazy. Like it, but that's what made me like start enhancing things. And then when he just like broke down the structure, that like, again, making a BMX video or any kind of action sports video, you're not really thinking in the story writing structure of like introducing the person, getting the people familiar with like why they like Mike, and then, oh, Mike does traction. Uh-oh, Mike ran into a problem.
Yeah.
And uh-oh, his wife's here to comfort it and save it, and they're going to work together. And now they're getting out of this, and now you have a nice happy ending resolution. I mean, unless you don't want that and you want it to be some bad ending. But the point is that like that stuff can exist in almost anything you do. Like, and especially if you're in charge of the music part of it, you have a lot of control over those dynamics. So when you're making like an edit, like say a 5-minute edit, it's going to have that. I'm trying to put that same wavelength into it. And that's why I like to use multiple songs if I can. And especially if there's like a main song that maybe doesn't have the best intro, we're going to find something else that I can like put more of the story together to lead you in for about 30 seconds to a minute before I take you on like a 4-minute journey into the rest of the video.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, and I like touching on like the multiple songs in a video. I've always loved that approach. And like, again, it goes back to the intentionality. I love to hear where that comes from, but it does take you on this journey that feels like the video is 5 minutes long. I always feel like it's longer than 5 minutes because it has all these intricacies with the different music. And it's like, it's an experience. And then the video comes to an end. You're like, I want more of that.
So leaving somebody with the wanting more was like another thing that I learned from the things I liked. That I was like, dang, I want more. So sometimes I would make something shorter and cut things out that felt like they left you going like, they started to lose your interest. That workshop also taught me about interest, like keeping attention, and like, yeah, you could make something shorter if you needed to for that attention's sake. And I feel like, especially when you're in like in the BMX world, if you're introducing a new rider, somebody they haven't seen, they don't need a 5-minute video right off the bat. They might need like 5 clips in a mix section in the right place to just go, well, who was that?
Yeah.
I want to see more of that person.
Yeah,
and
just
as
like
they
heavy
work
clips,
on
boom,
getting
boom,
better
boom.
and better clips, then the next time they come out, your impression of them always grows, instead of like, oh, it was pretty good in that one, but actually, all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I like to
It's
work
like a
on that kind
building
of thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's just like how I like to work with the riders. Like, I mean, somebody like Max Vu is like somebody who, to me, like I would want to work with like for the rest of my life, because he was like really young kid who like was riding and doing his thing, and he grew up to kind of like come into his own. He's kind of like ATV style, like we can go get skate park clips and he'll get the craziest rail clip. Like that's like that weird combo that like it's just like
It
really
doesn't
cool
really
to me.
exist anymore. Yeah,
But
it's cool.
Max paid attention. I remember when he first like was able to like start driving and coming and meeting up with us. Like he'd meet up somewhere, jump in the van, and we'd go out. And like at the end of the day, he goes, "Is that how that goes? Like, is that what filming is? Like, so you just go to something, nobody want to do anything, so you go to the next spot." He's like, "You don't have to do anything." I was like, "No, you do what you want to do, or like if you see an opportunity or whatever, like we talk, we go, yeah, you got that, you can do this." Or he goes, "Well, I was thinking this," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even realize you could do that. Like, yeah, that would be really good." Or we both look at each other and go, "No, it's not worth it. Like, yeah, you could crook this rail, but you crooked a bigger one already. Like, there's no reason to like, let's just go to another spot."
Yeah.
So we started learning like, and you know, that happens with tons of riders, but that's what like to me makes someone like mature within their riding. Because if you just like could be so predictable and then at the same time like the filming isn't unique and the spots aren't unique and those kinds of things, then it doesn't even really need to be filmed. Like you can do it or you can put it on Instagram or whatever, but like the making of the video, it should be like an experience for the people watching it. You're not making it just to like see what I did. Like it's supposed to like make you want to watch it again or want to watch more or just leave you with a good impression. Like that's what I try to do. Like of course you can't do that every time, but that's the goal. The goal is like you're going to want to watch more. You want to see more of this person, or you're just hyped to ride. Like, cause that's what videos did for me when I was a kid. They got me hyped to ride. And, yeah. So to be able to do that for other people, like hearing people say that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, well, I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do. Even if I don't know that like that's what's happening or not, because
you're just showing up, showing what you are excited about. And again, it goes back to that intention. Like you're intentionally showing like really cool things that are cool to you and that you want people to see almost through your eyes. And it works really well.
Some people have learned like, I'm going to tell them no.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just like, yeah. And if I say no, like somebody like Marcel, he's pretty good with like, yeah, you're probably not going to film this, or yeah, all right, this will be good. But like, yeah, he's, yeah, I don't know. A lot of these younger kids, they need to just like have a little bit of understanding on like what to film and how to do it. And so the more that they listen, you know, if some like, it feels like maybe back in the day, people were more like, well, you didn't like what I did and then you don't like my riding. And it's like, I'm actually trying to help you. Like, I can't think of anybody really like working like that, but like, I don't know. I had a long, stretch of like not really wanting to film hang fives. Like I just was like, blah, 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 hang five. I'm like, I think we can come up with something else, or like somebody might put a line together and maybe we can shorten that, or is there a thing we can add at the end, like, or you know, something like that. A lot of times it actually comes down to shortening it, and I go, actually, I could film this cooler if you just did like the hanger 180. Like
Sure.
the rest of the stuff, it puts me in
like
a spot
filler.
where it puts me in a spot where when you do the hanger 180, it's not going to be as captivating on the screen because I want to be from this side. But if I'm following you through, I won't be on that side, you know, like, so some of those things are things that like we just work together on and have to make the right calls on. So
that's super cool. It's cool, I'm sure too, like as you start developing relationships with, you know, different riders along the way, like being able to like, you know, be on the same wavelength and be able to like just talk about those things a little bit easier. Or, you know, people are starting to think about the line, how you're going to film it as well. Like I can do this line because I know Veesh is going to be down there filming it this way and it's going to look incredible.
Yeah. Like Max again, like would be somebody I'd be like, all right, yeah, you got something? He's like, yeah, not worth it. And he would just say it like that. And I'd be like, wait, what were you going to do? And he'll go, this. And I'll go, yeah, you're right.
That's
not worth
awesome.
it. Like he'll already know in his head, like it is what it needs to be. And that's from him growing and taking it in, like just understanding and learning. And then like himself, like wanting to like, improve on it. You know, he doesn't want to do it either if he thinks it's not going to be. One of the cool clips I'll talk about Max a little bit more is we went to like Sacramento. No, not Sacramento. We went to San Jose and we rode, in the city, and there were these stairs that led up to a wall ride, and he went out and found that spot. Like we were riding something else, but he wasn't into the spot we were riding, and so he went around and he found this thing. He's like, "Yo, I want to try and go to get this." So we go over to it, and he like rides up the stairs like reverse firecracker, right? Like, and then he wall rides, and it's a switch wall ride. And then we get done with it, and we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "I think I could like 180 onto it." Like, so then he rides up the stair set and eventually gets it, and we get kicked out. And we're like, "This is the last try." And he gets up it and he goes onto it, and like 180's on and like comes out fakie. It's in the North video.
Oh, I know exactly what clip you're talking about. Yeah.
And so that was his max, like calling out one thing and then getting it and then improving upon it. And I just wanted to run both of them. I'm pretty sure I ran both of them because I think it was kind of surprising. You go, "Oh, he went up the stairs," and then, "Oh, he went
comes
to
back
180."
and does it again. Yeah.
So
That's cool. Do you see that a lot? Like the process evolving when people are like out filming, like they'll do something and kind of surprise themselves and like, I think I can add a little bit more to that.
yeah, it's here and there though. Like most of the time they've kind of just did the thing for the spot, but like after he got the thing done and he felt like it was good, it was like worth it to just try and see if he could do a better version of it, and then you still have the one clip, you know?
No matter what. Yeah.
But yeah, he pulled it off though.
That's sick, man. Something that's always struck me is so cool about you and your style is that you've had such a humble and quiet approach to your work. You seem like you really just kind of let the art speak for itself. Has that always been something that was important to you?
I mean, I think a lot of people, I've heard from some people, it's held me back because they don't know what I've done and haven't done in a way, because I don't really talk too much about it. But like people who are familiar with Colt know what I've done there. But like there's probably a bunch of things that I need to dive into on the YouTube channel about things that I've done for Fox or Vans or Monster or Billabong or like some other brands that like I made it, sent it to them, moved on with my way, and I didn't like talk about them or really like promote them in the same regards. But like I think that like the body of work is actually pretty diverse.
Yeah.
And that I should like talk about that stuff more. Cause I ended up like some of my first music work was with Billabong, which is super random, but like, this girl, Ellie, who used to work at Fox, went to Billabong and they needed some music for Instagram and they wanted it cleared. And she was like, figured like, you know, I'm not really doing that. So it'd probably be pretty cheap to get me to clear some songs.
Sure.
And so I made some stuff like just for Instagram. Like they had someone else film it and I like recorded the stuff and sent it to the person and they put the songs on there. And then she said, "Hey, do you want to like edit some stuff for us?" And then I started doing some editing and it was like all through Billabong women's stuff. So it was all surfing and like girl stuff. And I wasn't really like posting about that stuff on my own Instagram and stuff as much as nobody like knows that I was working on it. And then it came down to doing this like travel show, and I didn't film anything, but like they went to like, one of them was in China, one of them was in Sri Lanka, and the other one was in Morocco. And it was like these girls who are like trying to grow women's surfing in areas that like it's not that prominent. And it was like a travel show. And
Wow.
I personally wanted to do something like a travel show, like just for like in the same kind of regard, but for BMX,
Mm-hmm.
kind of unrelated to that. But it was like kind of cool that I got to work on it. And one of the things that happened was they said, "Well, just start editing the video and we'll get you the music later." Like, because they were gonna give me a music library to look through. And I edited out like all the voiceover pieces and I edited up like the storyline and all the stuff that like they like laid it out for me, and I just kind of like put all the pieces in the play and like said, "All right, I got it. Where's the music? Where's the music?" I didn't get any music, so I started recording my own music. And I'm like, "All right, well, what would go here?" And I like, you know, dove into like different instruments. And because I was able to do this work with Billabong, I got a check that was pretty decent, that I was able to buy the Roland V drum kit, like a pretty nice one.
Oh yeah.
And like some other like music gear, and that like enhanced my recording stuff. And so then I was looking for like you know, drums that were like bongos and things on the V drum kit, where I was able to just like add ambience and like different things in there that I didn't have access to, like to mic up and stuff like that. So I was able to make like a pretty diverse little like soundtrack for
Wow.
the one song, like the one video. And then they were like, "Yeah, we like it. The music's great, all this stuff." And then, so I did it for the next one. I did it for the next one. And by the end of the one I was making for the China version, I was getting overwhelmed with work for Colt, and like I was just like not hitting the mark on the surfing aspects of what they were wanting, because I would put in shots and they didn't really like what I was doing, and I just like started to kind of lose like some traction with them. And so by the end of it, I ended up just having to like give them the project, and they finished it up. And but they did use my music. And then I went and looked at their YouTube channel, and I saw that they continued with more of those projects. And I was like, oh, I'm curious, like what kind of music they used. And I went and watched the video, and I don't know where the music came from, but it was pretty much the same style soundtrack
No
that I
way.
created, that they never asked me to make to begin with.
Yeah.
So I just like, they carried on with the thing I just kind of came up with.
And
for
they
them.
probably didn't even really know that you made it. Like,
No, they knew.
Did
they
they
knew.
know you
yeah,
made
they
the
knew.
music?
They knew I made the music.
dang.
Um,
And then they just had somebody else like emulate it.
but or pull from a music library,
Yeah.
and put like similar things on it. But I mean, I wasn't doing anything revolutionary. I was doing something you'd see on the travel show, but I
Sure.
was just like coming up with it. So
Wow.
so I set the tone for the music that's in the series without their direction.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, yeah, I probably should put that out there more, because if I can pivot off the music thing, that's really fun to do, really like important to me. Like I really like doing it. And one of the reasons I know that I really like doing it is I find myself getting tired of editing at a certain point, and then I find myself losing track of time while I'm making music. Like it's like
You're just like
it's like
immersed
2
in
in
the
the morning, and I'm
experience.
like, oh, I should go to sleep. But why? What if I add these maracas to the top of it? Like, like, and where the editing is like, I'm done with this for today. Like,
Yeah.
and there's different things, but like when I was starting to edit videos, I would lose track of time. It was the only job I went, man, I wish the days were longer.
Mhm.
Like, because I'm like, it's been 8 hours and I'm only this far, but I've been doing nothing but working on it. And now the same kind of thing is happening in the music side.
That's so cool. It's cool that it's like a refresher now for you.
Yeah.
Like you're just building on top of a passion that already exists. Like I think that's a really special thing. You're a passionate guy about many things.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I just put, I guess I don't want to work. Like I don't like, I also don't want to do something without like a purpose, or something that like kind of, that can be inspiring or interesting to someone else. Like if I had to work, then I'd work, but I'd want to do something that like was helpful, I guess, in some way. Right. So the fact that I get to like put everything I have into making a video or a song, and then that gives me just enough to get by. Like, I don't know, people make really good livings doing that. So I guess if I can get to a point where I could do that, that just kind of like, even in a sense of like looking around here, like if you get the money, you get to put it back into having nicer equipment, to make nicer things, to buy nicer lights, to, have better gear. Like that's all I want. I don't want fancy stuff. I want like better stuff to do the jobs better. Like,
yeah. You want to just
make
do
things
it
easier,
at the highest level.
or if it's getting somewhere, like it takes money to run a production, but if I start, getting decent jobs that pay like a good amount, and now I can like put that back into, okay, I get to pick riders to go somewhere. I get to pick the hotels. I get to like curate my own, like I said, the travel show kind of thing would be like the best thing ever. Coming to somewhere like the travel show we'd have is that we came to ride in Colorado. We come to Traction Coffee, and we go to that place and have the
Smucker's cheeseburger.
The Smucker's cheeseburger thing. And now you get a little taste of a Colorado experience that like I could not afford to do. But like if I'm creating this like entertainment, and I have like a job from a corporate thing that pays good, and now I get to take some of that money, put it over
Funnel
into
it back in.
Yeah. That's where I'd like to go with things.
I love like the idea of that travel show, and like, you've been fortunate enough to travel all over the world. Do you have any spots that have been your favorite, or any locations that are like an all-time place for you? Or I guess with that being said, places that you still want to go?
Well, I probably definitely have places I still want to go, but Colt has got me to quite a lot of places, and Vans have gotten me to quite a lot of places. Well, technically Fox too, when I was working for them. I'll put on my top list. Well, a highlight is working on the Pro Cup, the Vans Pro Cup that was going around to a bunch of different countries. One was in Germany, which was a huge highlight. And the way that like Colt and fans worked together was, when you get somewhere like Germany and you just ask them to book a ticket for a week later to return, then Colt puts in a little money on Airbnb and you just stay in Germany for a week later and make a Colt video after you've already done the Vans thing. So that's where like those two things working together make it so I can go to a place like Germany and not only go to a contest that was really fun to be around all these bike riders that are like creating some like noise and excitement for the community in Germany, but like then go experience Germany for a week and ride and like eat there and I mean, we didn't have a car. We're riding through the city every day, taking trains, stuff like that. Like it was super fun. And so Germany was a super highlight. And I've been fortunate to go to Australia like 3 times, which is like one of my favorite places to go. Like I love going there. I love hanging out with everyone there. So those are like the two highlight like places I would love to go to again. But like, well, yeah, the Pro Cup also went to Australia, so that was another way I got to stay there again. But we did, a Colt trip there that was probably like the most impactful. Like the Colt Down Under trip that was like, I want to say like 2018, something like that.
That sounds
was
about
one of the
right.
first times that like a trip video started to resonate, where I heard back from people that they felt like they were on a trip, and that like it was just like a video that they just want to put on again and again. And when I go on the trip, I try to live it a little bit like it's almost like I'm taking, I'm filming, but like I'm taking note of like certain things. Maybe it's like the music I'm hearing a bunch, just like bits of the adventure that we're on, and trying to put that into something so that like there's enough B-roll that it's not boring, but enough that you're like, oh, you guys traveled around and went to all these places and like got to ride these cool things and experience this stuff.
Yeah. Are you like planning that stuff out ahead of time, like in the morning before you head out to go film?
No, that's
just
taking
on site.
in. That's like taking in and trying to bank it into my like editing like notes like in my head.
Amazing.
And a lot of that like comes back to me when I go through the footage, but I don't really delete anything on my cards. I put all the cards on and I bring the whole folder down and I put it in a timeline, and I like go through and find as many things as I can that I think are kind of interesting. So my deciphering of the footage takes a while. It could take a few days just to like line the timelines up. But once I line the timelines up, then I start figuring out what the story is of like things that go, well, this is obviously a ender kind of clip, so we're putting that at the end. This is kind of redundant, so maybe we'll put it in the beginning to be the first time you see like a big gap, even though there's a bigger gap coming later. Like, or if I have like a session that makes sense, I'll put the whole session together. If I have odds and ends, I find places to like fill those things out. And then I find music and I put the music underneath it in the places, and I like audition the song around to where like I'll put the song at the very beginning. When the song ends, I move it to the next section of the timeline, the next section, and I go, you know what? These things hit so well, but this song probably needs to go towards the end. Now this footage is going to sit here. And like, now I got into a whole timeline discussion of how I like put things together. But
yeah, I love that stuff though. It is cool, especially for people listening who are looking to, go into the production and stuff. Like it's cool to hear like the workflow. Like last night we're standing out there, the disco ball's playing, and you're like, oh, I gotta like, you started filming the floor and you're like, I can use this for something. And you're like, we started talking about the timelines and stuff. And you did the same thing. You're like, I just went down this whole rabbit hole. I'm like, no, dude, it's beautiful. Cause yeah, I think, again, this is the kind of stuff that I think is lost among a lot of people. And I don't think enough emphasis is put on the people that are actually creating the stuff that is consumed.
Well, I hope that on the channel that like there's more of it out there. And I get that audience might be smaller than the people who want to watch just like the BMX edit, but I'm going to leave those out there for people who might stumble across it or find, like I did, the way things are put together can be just as interesting or more interesting than the actual thing, the video.
The finish. Like, I honestly find myself a lot anymore getting sucked more into the B-roll stuff or like the behind the scenes, or when I talk about like watching these guys that are, producers making like hip hop music. I'm like watching them like put a song together in a timeline. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have more appreciation for that process than actually the finished product. And so I think a lot of people are very intrigued, and like you said, you found like, your intentionality through watching like movie magic.
Yeah.
And like, think about
Yeah.
how many people like never get to see the back end of that. And I'm sure you're this way too, but like when I watch a movie or when I listen to a song, I'm like picking it apart, like, oh, how did they make that sound? And I think it'd be cool, especially the way you're starting to approach it. You show people how that's done, and
Yeah.
then you can start being a little bit more clued into how things are created, and you have more respect for not just the writers, but the people that are creating the content behind, the videos and everything. So that's super cool.
That's what I hope to do. And now it's like the next step is like taking the idea of where I was going to do the BMX event and I went and did it. Well, these other ideas kind of sit in my head too, and they need to come out onto the channel and start to like be realized that where, a year from now, all the stuff I've been talking about, actually you can start to see it exist. And there's a pattern of like a bio piece and a behind the scenes thing, and like me making spec commercials, all the pieces that I kind of been talking about for a while are going to be out of my head and onto the YouTube channel, hopefully.
I mean, even just like I said at the beginning of this, we had this conversation, almost a year ago last summer, and like, it's cool to see the progression that it has been of getting to this point now of like so many of the things you talked about are starting to come to fruition. So I can't imagine what it's going to look like in a year as you really start swinging that hammer and like going to work, man.
Well, I have to do it.
Yeah.
But I think
the most fun part though, right?
Yeah.
And like, I guess with that being said, like, how do you stay inspired to continue to show up and like continue to create?
I think that if I can start making that stuff work for me, like it will be, right now it's this weird world of like, I need to make money to survive, but I don't want to do the things I don't want to have to do. So if I make an entertaining thing that like either I'm hired to make something and I can make it behind the scenes for it, or I'm just making entertaining stuff enough that YouTube works for me, or selling merch and things off the web store work for me, then I'm just going to go that route because people are doing it. So I don't know why I couldn't do it. And the reason I couldn't do it is because I didn't try hard enough. So I have to just keep trying. And if I've had a good feedback with just doing the BMX event and the stuff I've been doing, like I just have to keep going. Like it was like my own self talking myself out of it, where that crossing that like threshold or like getting over it with doing the BMX event has really felt like a difference. And that is a month. Like since I said I was going to do it, to it actually coming out, to the feedback that people gave me about how fun it was and how it felt like it was just for BMX.
Yeah.
The things that I wanted from the very beginning existed and worked. Then I just have to keep going by like knowing that my intuition, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I think this is going to work. I think this is going to work. And then not caring when some things fall out. Because if I cared about the views and stuff I got on those videos that I put out on the YouTube channel, building up the ramps, there weren't much views, but the Instagram stuff did well. But I needed the YouTube just because I said I was going to do it.
Totally.
And it's just
it's like just follow through, right?
It's just a follow through, and it starts building. Like, the videos did get more views as they went. Some of them fell down. Like building a ramp with Dak went higher than putting coping on a ramp and cleaning out my van. But like the test video did pretty well. And then the video of the actual event was the best one. But like, yeah, because BMX riders want to see that. Like that was actually exciting. You had all these people killing it and it was good. So now I have to put something else out that goes off that, and it's going to probably be lower than that, but then it's going to climb again, and I'm going to figure out how to make all that stuff work. So it's like me knowing that I'm playing this game of like trying to do my best, keeping people's attention, learning to do storytelling, learning to discipline myself to just put things out and get better at doing it. But if I don't do any of that, or I wait too long in between, I'm going to lose people's attention and it's not going to build. So I have to play this game of quality and persistence. Like, and that's, I think, all there really is to it.
Well, and I love the fact that you touched on like, sometimes you're going to fail and you just have to be okay with that. And like, you can't be successful without failure, right?
That's what it seems like the scared of normal thing kind of is, especially like from your first podcast when you're just kind of sitting down and talking about like what's going on with your like vision of doing this and stuff like that. It's just kind of like get out there. Like
Yeah.
fail. I feel like you guys touch on failure a bit,
Yeah,
you know, in that.
I love the idea of failure, right? Like
Yeah.
this is something I probably talk about this every episode and people are probably tired of hearing it. But like you can't be successful without failing. And
Yeah.
like I relate everything back to BMX in my own life because that's where it all started for me, of course.
Yeah.
But like think about how many times you had to fail learning that 180. Hundreds of times. It didn't feel that way when you're in it because you're young and you're doing it and you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, but you failed hundreds of times.
Yeah. True.
How many times do you still fail doing that? How many times do you still fail manually, but you continue to show up and you do it and you get it right? And that's the same way with everything in life, right? Like, and by definition, if you look at everybody who is successful, by definition, they are the biggest failures that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because they have learned how to do it wrong so many times that they continue to get it right now. And there's a lot of beauty in that.
Yeah.
And
I think that like you live with your failures, but other people don't necessarily live with them. And that's like another thing that like, again, like people don't know the intention behind something that didn't come out exactly how you wanted it to. And they went, that's awesome. Again, like right now, I mean, it's probably older now, but Netflix has like the movies that made us. It's another behind the scenes kind of thing. And it's not necessarily about the special effects, but it's like, how did this story come about? And you're finding out like that things are almost canceled or like people had big like disagreements on how things are supposed to be done. And like they almost casted different people to the movies that you like loved that you could never see someone different in that role. And like, so you never really know about all these like failures and, or even the people in the companies. You're like, oh, this person's super successful. You don't know how many times I went bankrupt on something else. Like they know, and some people close to them know, and people who like were with them in the journey, like know, but like, you're like, wow, they're so good. Like, I don't know how many, you know, it's easy to probably use Bezos as like an example, but like, you don't know how many things Amazon tried that didn't really work.
Yeah,
like
probably far more than that did work.
I would imagine that something like a Netflix is really, because I mean, they just are streaming, but they were sending out DVDs at one time. Like their whole business was different. Like there's like,
they pivoted and pivoted until they got to the place where they are now, you know, and I think there's lessons to be learned, you know, whether it is for BMX or for a career or whatever it might be. Like look around and like, you know, I say this a lot too, but it's like whether it is somebody that's successful, like say a professional BMX rider, it's easy to look at that person and say like, oh, that must be nice. I wish I could do that.
Yep.
I've tried to shift my thinking the older I've gotten and try to say like, okay, how did that person do that? Because I can do that. Anybody can do that. But like you start looking at what we're saying right now, it's like you pick up that hammer and you go to work and you be relentless and unwavering, and then you get to that place that you want to go. And anybody's capable of that. Yeah. Are you willing to put in the hard work to get there?
Yeah. And that's where I'm at, is just like a different kind of hard work. Because I put in the hard work because I did want to be a BMX filmer, like a professional BMX filmer. And I ended up doing that. But I put in like so much work to get to that point. And yeah, there's plenty of failures in that road, but like it feels different because I don't know, I was willing to accept them. They're not necessarily like that out there, but like these things, the videos I'm putting out aren't going to be hits because it's a different style of thing. So you just have to go for it. Plus, those were things I was filming of somebody else and putting them out there who were like people who should be in front of the camera kind of thing. Like they're already kind of qualified because
they have a platform somewhat.
They do crazy cool tricks and they're stylish at it and like stuff like that, and they're unique. So like, why would you not film them? But now it's like on me.
And it's far more like vulnerable that way, right?
Exactly.
You're like, you're open to the world, and like you've been on the other side of the camera, kind of like behind the scenes, and like, so now you're coming out in like the forefront and like being able to put like that, the idea of failure aside and the idea of things not working the way you think they're going to, and just say like, we're going to do this and we're going to do it no matter what, and trusting the process. Like,
and the other thing that with like the failure thing and like kind of like the self-conscious deal was like, in the beginning, it's like, oh, I want to make a YouTube channel that my friends would watch, right? But like, they're not really gonna watch it right now. Like, people are, but they might not be quite
like your core group. Of
friends.
And
you know, like it because I'm doing like weird stuff. But like, you know what? I just have to keep honing it in, and one day they're gonna turn it on and go, oh wow, this is cool.
This is great.
You know, like this is. But like, I think that you know, Kenny Beats.
Yeah. Oh, I love Kenny Beats.
So he talked about like, all he wanted to do was make music that his friends would like. And it took forever, but eventually they went, wait, this is you?
Yeah.
And he turned that corner, and, you know, he talks a bit about how he got to that place and stuff like that. But like, you know, that's something I want to do with my music. Like, I want the music I do for videos for people to never question that I made it,
Yeah.
to just go along with
this
it. Like,
is good.
like, all right, yeah. Like, even if the video is cool, the music was cool, and never go like, oh, that was cool. I could tell you made it, but like, that was cool. Like, good for you. Like that's kind of what I feel right now. It's like, good for you.
Like
and
the
it's
pat
like
on the back.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's not bad, you know? And I'm like, oh, I want it to be better. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I want it to be better. I guess I want it to be better for experience. If other people's music can impact you where you're like into it, music is like the coolest thing. So why would I not want something I made to have like a good resonance? Like, that could be positive, you know, and not like a downgrade. Like, because right now I feel like I make cleared music, which nobody wants cleared music, but I don't want to look through a library for it. So I'll just make it as custom as I can. But the more I step my production level up and the more I understand how to make music better, then it'll be like, oh, where'd you find this song?
Yeah.
Well, I made it.
Well, actually, I got some sauce.
Yeah.
When I think, you know, touching on like the Kenny Beats thing, like how long it took him to get people excited. Like, I've also like seen that with Traction for ourselves. Like, it took almost 3 or 4 years for my core group of friends to actually buy coffee from us.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was the strangest thing to me for the longest time.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can I sell coffee to all these people that I don't know?
Yeah.
But my friends aren't buying it from me. And it's like, it's one of those things, like, everybody was supportive, but nobody actually like went through with the transaction. And now it's changed. But I think for the longest time, people are always just like, oh, that's cool you're doing that. Exactly what you're saying is like, I'm proud of you. Okay, but like, you drink coffee and you're not drinking our coffee. Why is that?
Yeah.
And I think it's just people, you know, almost don't take it seriously until you take it seriously. And, you know, you taking it seriously might be, it takes you a couple months to a year. But for other people to perceive that, you know, it's that 2 to 4 year gap of being like, oh, you're actually doing this thing. Yeah. You know,
I think that's where I'm at. And I think I'm understanding. And it's cool. Like, I think it's totally fine if like my friends don't want to watch what I'm making, but I just have to keep making something and making it the way I want to, and eventually maybe they come around to it or whatever. Again, I don't need like Dakota to tune in and be like, oh, I'm watching your stuff, but at the same time, hey, I don't want them to really cringe at what I'm doing either.
Sure.
But like at some point, I think I'll hit the mark of like what I'm trying to do, but I'm not going to come out of the gate with that. So for the people who are into it right off the bat, and then maybe I don't know them, or they're like riders that are like farther out and I've never met them, or I'm acquaintances with them and they're liking it. Well, I see hopefully those people showing up on the YouTube and I go, oh, cool. This is a fan I have. Like, thank you for like liking this and being about it and like actually enjoying it. Like, it doesn't have to be so like tight right off the bat, but people are like, yeah, I might be a fan of like somebody even like Kenny. I don't know Kenny Beats, but like, you know, I mean, obviously he's pretty well known, but like, I don't know, somebody else, you could just be like, oh, I'm like, this guy is like fascinating. I don't know him, but like just what they put out online is cool enough, and they're not hitting the mark that they want to hit, and they're growing too. Like, so it's really kind of open. Like, as long as I just keep at it, and then what I put out, I learn from, and then do better, and learn from, and do better. That's like pretty much it.
It's that being comfortable with being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that there is something so special in like you touching on the fact that like there might be somebody just that you've never met before that's tuning in and becomes a fan. It's like there's something to be said about people who are early adopters and that like believe in what you're doing before you even know how to like, you know, turn a vision into reality. They can see this glimmer of beauty in what you're kind of creating, right? And like,
well, at least they're like entertained by it without like adding in like some friend persuasion to it or anything like that. The one thing I do say, especially about the music, is like, you know, people love finding something like new and underground, and it's like once a band kind of becomes too popular, or, you know, people especially who are early on, they start to fall away because it's like, oh, now everybody's listening to this.
Yeah.
Well, if you listen to my music, it's some of the most underground stuff you're gonna find. There's like 2 or 3 people listening, so you could be like number 4 or 5, and then, you know, as it gets up to like 10 or 20 people, you could be like, I really listened before anyone,
Where can people find? Do you have like a SoundCloud? Like where do you have stuff at?
Yeah, I do have a SoundCloud that's just Veeshs. I haven't really like updated it with like anything that's new, where the productions that I've been doing recently, like I haven't even put like Dak's song from his latest Vans part on there, which is like probably one of my better songs that I've made.
I really enjoyed that one actually.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
I'm not patting you on
Hey,
the back the way
you're
you
a friend,
said you don't.
huh?
Like, no, but like yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that you made it. It was really good. And
Well,
so yeah,
I'm getting better. I'm watching lots of videos on
a lot of Kenny beats.
less Kenny beats because I'm learning more on compression, learning how to not muddy things up, learning how to do the mixing better, and putting like limiters and things on that like are the final stages and making your music sound more like the stuff you hear on the radio. And learning how to like actually tone some things down, because there was a fullness missing in my productions that I thought meant I needed to put more guitars on when I needed to put less guitars on, and then use different like mastering or like oh my goodness, what is the freaking just the mixing tools, like the way that like so as you're watching somebody like Kenny Beats like layer on drums and then layer on guitars, and maybe I actually put 4 guitar tracks down, I'm gonna like put those 4 guitar tracks into one track and then export that and export what was maybe 20 tracks down into 5 tracks. So there's bass, drums, guitars, and like something else. Instead of having all these separate tracks, now they have like their individual tracks, and then I'm affecting just those tracks together, and I'm like putting like compressors and limiters on them that like bring them up. There's like a tool called like a widener that like, you know, puts that like sound to be a little bit more full. And then there's like different like things you can do throughout the like mixing stage. It feels like you're color correcting. Like you've made the edit and now you're putting the finishing touches of like mixing the sound and mixing the
I love that.
And the color correcting onto it. And those are the pieces that I was
spicing it up here and there.
Those are the pieces I was working on more at the end. So like I played the stuff, like most of the stuff I play is in like 2 or 3 tries. Like I just kind of, I've also, this is going to sound crazy, but I've never written anything down like music wise that I've played.
That's crazy.
I could not tell you how to play any of the stuff. I could listen to it and figure out what I played, but I could never, I've never written down a chord or anything like that. I just, I usually start with drums. Lately I've been starting with some guitar, but lately I'll just play drums, like give you a little beatbox sample. It's just like, right? I got that going on. And then I'll take the guitar and just go, and I figure, okay, that's what that is. And then I grab the next guitar track and I like play something in a different octave. And then maybe I'll walk down instead of up to find the notes that coordinate with it. But I don't know what they are. I just go, okay, down to this. I could tell you what the notes are if like I had to transpose it, but I'm just like doing it in real time while I'm watching the video. And then I see like if like somebody like does something, like even if they were like, say Trey Jones is doing a gap to Firecracker, and I'm like watching the thing and I have the pacing going out, I go, and so like I put the like noise, something that goes with the Firecracker right at the Firecracker point. And like, so I'm not really like playing chords and things like that along with it. I just kind of like mimic the writing with the song. And then once I kind of get that down, then I'll go through and layer some stuff on to like put a lead on top of it to create what would be like a melody. So like something that gives it some kind of hook or something that you recognize. In Dak's song, I sang like I just like
I didn't realize you did the vocal
I made my
too.
voice like kind of weird.
Wow.
But I just put it underneath so that there's like, you're watching the video and you hear that they're singing
there,
but you're not really, I didn't write the words down. I just like sang something that like, I thought like kind of just went by underneath. And then, you know, on his part, I added like bells in and stuff and like other things to kind of enhance it. But those are all things I added from him giving me references of bands he likes, you know, like Misfits and like, Minor Threat and things like that. Then I would just take pieces of it, like, oh well, the Minor Threat bass has like this grr sound, and then like, you know, Pink Floyd has like that open airy like tremolo guitar stuff, and like, he loves like just like melodic sounding things. So I try to have that in there. And then yeah. So I don't know. How do I get to this?
We're just talking
that?
about like the SoundCloud.
Oh yeah.
But with that in mind, are you ever gonna put out like a YAWN EP or anything? Like I feel like that would be sick. Dude.
I mean, I guess I could. I never really thought of YAWN with the music stuff. I kind of thought that would just be under Veeshs kind of thing. Because I can just like I don't know. Maybe I should put everything under one umbrella. I don't know, but yeah, I need to put more of that stuff on SoundCloud. But yeah, I was talking about how the stuff that I do have on the SoundCloud is like older and the production isn't like that great in my opinion, but I've gotten better at it. So I need to like, there's a bunch of songs I also have that I haven't finished that if I worked on them now, and now that I know the production, I could probably make them actually come out kind of closer to how I want them to be. And then I can kind of update my SoundCloud with that.
Yeah, I would love to see
I was working on this thing kind of called a stopwatch beat that was like, I just set my phone up and hit the stopwatch and was trying to see how fast I can make something that was like kind of cool. And sometimes it'd be like, oh, that was 38 minutes or whatever. But like, I would obviously cut that down and not make it long. But I was thinking that I could do a dual thing with that where I go live and I make the beat in the stopwatch form. And then I take that and cut it down to a more watchable length and put that on YouTube,
like some more digestible content.
Yes,
because I do love like when you do the Instagram lives and you're like making music. Like I'm always with Matt Cordova and we're like watching that together and we're like, dude, this is so freaking cool. And like
I need to do it more. And that's another thing where I'm doing it and I'm not really paying attention. So I did it, but like when I get to do it and I don't have that on, I make a different thing
like
than
really
when I do have it on and I know I'm like being watched. But then at the same time, I don't even realize like who's watching it or how they're feeling about it. Because yeah, some people say, oh, this is cool. But I don't realize that someone had watched it and went, wow, this is cool, and didn't say anything or whatever. And I'm not saying anybody needs to say anything, but it's just like, I need to just remember to figure out how to do that anyways. And then as I get better at it, people will tune in more and they'll like the experience. I have to remember people do like it, even though to me, it's like a bunch of dead air at some points. It's like, no.
You just almost have to pretend you're doing it by yourself. Like you're saying, like, cause every time one of those pops on, I'm like, I want to be sitting there watching it live because it's just so freaking cool to me. So
I think I'm going to try and do YouTube live and Instagram live. Maybe I can get both going at the same time. That'd be cool. But yeah, I definitely need to do that again, but I've been like pretty distracted by other things recently, but that's like something else I have to get to. So
yeah. Well, sick. Well, as we wrap this thing up, like what's the next big thing coming down the pipeline for you? Anything coming glaring you in the face?
I wouldn't say there's anything but like just trying to make progress on like putting videos out, and they're gonna be kind of all over the place as I like figure out what I can really do and what I have set too high of a goal for. But I mean, right now we're on a trip working on a Colt video, so like there'll be a Colt video out probably sometime before the end of the month.
For the end of June.
Yes, I was gonna say what month are we in? We're in June. So before the end of June, there'll be a Colorado trip with a bunch of shredders, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna just get into trying to do stuff like the live and some more behind the scenes stuff, and diving into some of the other work that I've done that's outside of BMX. And I'm kind of steady doing some stuff for Fullerton bikes right now. Seems like every month I've got something going on with them, and I haven't been like putting that stuff on to the YAWN stuff either because I didn't want to like discourage too much of the BMX stuff, but like I think that I'll be a little bit more involved in BMX now after like the BMX event. I also need to do another event at another bike shop, so that's going to be like a whole undertaking because it doesn't have the publicity that the first one has from building the ramps and getting it all hyped up.
Yeah.
But it does have an experience that people saw in the video that I just have to pull from and be like, hey, we did that here. Now we're coming to your area and doing it again. Come out. So that's probably like the next big thing that I would do is like to do some more like live stuff. Cause I think that being in front of people and actually interacting with them will help the YouTube channel grow almost more than just putting the videos out.
Yep.
Because they're not reaching anybody like, but if I go be a part of something, then that probably works better. So
I agree. Well, sick, man. Well, before we wrap this up, do you have any parting motivating words for people that may be listening to jump out and pursue their passions or go do what they love?
Yes. All right. Ready? So, I mean, I just recently got over the hurdles of kind of worrying about judgment, especially people who like might have something to say, but then they don't really like have anything. It's not really affecting them. Maybe they don't like something. Someone else will like it. But also I'm going to say that like, just because you do it doesn't make it good either. And that like, you need to like reflect on what you're doing and find the best pieces of it. And like, so if somebody is starting to do a YouTube channel and you went out and you made I would just say a vlog, and you didn't do much and you didn't get a good reaction, look at it and say, well, how can I make this more interesting? How maybe we just make something shorter and more to the point, and like, and look around and see what other people are doing, and do not copy, but find yourself at least 3 influences and take pieces of those and then put yourself into it. And now you have something new going on. You could see that in a lot of writers. Even somebody like Dakota has taken influences from a few different people that he really liked. And now he's Dakota Roche, the writer, but like there's traces of his favorites inside there. And so don't copy anybody, but you can use influence and you can figure that out for yourself and digest what it is that you're doing. And at the end of it, enjoy what you're doing and don't be motivated by success and finances, because it'll take you off the track right away. But you still got to get your finances in order. I've been doing door dashing and taking other jobs I don't want to do to keep doing the jobs I do want to do. So that's about all I have.
I love it, man. That is the most beautiful response that you could have had. I mean, it's all so true. And I love talking about your reflection on Dakota, like taking the influences. I just think back to him in like Low Tech Vancouver, and you can really see those influences from other people and how he's progressed so much into being who he is today. And you touching on the fact that you're running DoorDash and like doing the stuff to make your dream come true. That stuff is so special. And yeah, I just want to thank you for sitting down here with me today. It's been so fun, for all your contributions to BMX over the years and for all the things that you continue to do. Thank you, man. It's really cool. So
well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man.
It's been fun.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you all for listening. If you're enjoying these episodes on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening to them on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon, please leave us a review. And it helps get the word out, and it helps.
You got it.
And oh man, I stumbled
and
it
helps
up.
keep the algorithm.
Yeah, it makes it happy. Keeps the project rolling.
And that makes the algorithm happy.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thanks for the help there, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you all so much for being a part of the Traction family. We'll catch you on the next one, and keep being scared of normal.
All right, later.